15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We need a reset for Maggie. We desperately need something.
Laura said it's okay, Maggie. It will all be okay. You don't know that, Laura.
Yeah.
I love you, but you don't know that.
No,
You know Maggie's got off the deep end when she's yelling at the Weekdays.
No. Laura's perceptive. Today is more of an intervention than a radio show.
No.
Deep breath.
She's doing breathing exercises.
I want a camera on Maggie when Drew Gilbert hits a grand slam to win the divisional round, and I just want to be there and say, I told you.
7 years.
Yeah. In the year 2030, when I renounce my Mets fandom for good. I'm just kidding. I can't quit you.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Wow, what an episode of Hard Knocks that was last night. If Aaron Rodgers was looking for even more praise, I mean, that entire episode was the Aaron Rodgers show. Perloff, though, it made me worried about the Jets.
Why? I mean, that was the most positive Hard Knocks. There wasn't even the guy who's going to get cut. It was just nothing but love, love, love. How can you be worried about this? America's new team.
All right, well, here's why I'm worried about them. Because they being the team, the coaches, the players, they're all taking everything, all of their cues from Rodgers, or at least that's how it seems, and I imagine that's how it's going to go.
That is the show. Okay. That's not what it's really like.
No. I think that's what it's really like, because there's no one else who's in that building who's going to know what winning is like. There's no one else in that building who has any experience here in a real way with anything positive. All they know is the Jets, and now they know the Jets plus Rodgers. Right? I know Robert Saleh was a successful defensive coordinator for the 49ers, but that's not in the big chair doing the big job, where so far he's kind of been like a little bit of a weak link in terms of coaching. So here's where my fear for the Jets is. Mm-hmm. It's not just if Rodgers has an injury. If he has an injury, if any quarterback has an injury, it's really hard for the team to continue on with Super Bowl aspirations, right? That's one thing. But ask yourself, we're going to go through a whole season, and Rodgers isn't going to say anything that might mess with the vibes. He's not going to do anything that might cut at the confidence of any of these guys. It's not possible that with the McAfee show and all of the cameras and how honest he can be at press conferences and all that stuff, that they're not going to have any snafus, because I find that to be impossible. There's going to be ups and downs of this season. There are ups and downs of every season, and they are taking so much of the vibe, everything, their confidence is all about Rodgers, that if he does anything to shake it, I don't think that the rest of the coaches and players on the team have anything to fall back on.
Maggie, you know that's a TV show, right? You know that's not what's actually happening in New York.
So who's the winner on that team who they're going to follow?
Well,
Randall Cobb?
First of all, everybody won in college. Quentin Williams probably won a title, I imagine, at Alabama. Garrett Wilson probably lost 2 games his entire college career. Sauce Gardner made a Final Four at Cincinnati. They all won in college. Saleh won in San Francisco. Hackett won in Green Bay. I don't know. They're all young.
They won MVPs in Green Bay.
Well, Hackett was the number 1 seed. He's won a lot of football games.
Yeah, but not what the Jets are trying to do here.
But there's nobody on the Jets who knows the losing Jets either. Last year was kind of a weird year. At least they got 7 wins. This is an all-new team. I don't think they have a lot of the old Jets around. It feels like there's different Jets. That being said, just because Aaron Rodgers was on camera for 75% of last night's Hard Knocks episode doesn't mean that he is permeating 75% of the meeting rooms in New York. Obviously, the team has a defense, first of all, that I know they had a couple clips of defensive guys talking about Aaron Rodgers, but it's totally separate from him. And their offense, of course they need Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think this vibe thing is an issue. I think, if anything, I thought you were going to say that you expected them to be even more of a Super Bowl favorite because Aaron Rodgers is so psyched about this team. Honestly, I thought it came off great. I thought Aaron Rodgers came off amazing.
Well, obviously.
And I don't know. It doesn't change the way I view this team. Of course, they're an Aaron Rodgers injury away, but what do you think he could say? What's he going to possibly say that's going to bother anyone? They obviously love the dude.
Yeah, I know. I just think that if you don't have like a sense, when you're looking to someone else to instill confidence in you, they can help, but that's not sometimes the real thing. You got to really feel it. And the defense was really good last year, and the offense was atrocious. But they were really good last year on the defense, and it didn't mean they were a playoff team. So, like, yes, the defense is good. They'll have another year of experience, although, I don't know, EJ, you're a Jets fan. Samter, you're a Jets fan. Did you pick up on that little tiny thing where Quinnen Williams said his knees, he can't sit at a Broadway show because his knees would stiffen up? I'm like, dude, you're like 25. You should be able to sit at Broadway.
Hopefully the ink's not too dry on that contract.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just gave him $90 million or whatever. But let's listen to a little bit, right? Because this was a little of last night. The fandom of Rodgers' teammates towards Rodgers is pretty insane. Mecole Hardman is now on the Jets, and this was him talking to Rodgers about how much he looks up to him.
It's crazy, though. I really was 7 years old. Like, I was this tall.
You're aging me again?
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Not aging you, but showing you how great you is. That should be like a technique, like how great you really is. Because I watched you my whole life, basically.
You're 25?
I'm 25 years old. I can't wait to tell my son, like, hey, this guy right there, I played with him.
Okay. That's, first of all, Mecole Hardman obviously knows how to win. The dude just won a Super Bowl.
I was going to say, that's the one guy, he's fanning out Rodgers. You just played with Patrick Mahomes, who's probably going to go down in history as being better than Rodgers. Tell your kid about that.
Now, that not only was that guy not getting confidence from Aaron Rodgers, was he slightly dissing Aaron Rodgers there? That felt like...
Not on purpose.
I felt like he was accidentally screwing with Rodgers. Rodgers looked at him like, man, all right, back off. Okay, I get it. You're young. He was age-shamed about 45 times during the show.
Yeah, he was.
But then Mecole Hardman didn't just say that I was a kid when you were playing. He made it sound somewhat older by saying, I can't wait to tell my son that I played with you. Like, I don't even quite know what that means.
He's going to go down in history.
Aaron Rodgers was like, all right, man, I get it. All right, I have grays in my beard, whatever. Like, but then, yeah, that was, I think there were 5 references to how old he is, which I did not expect because I don't even think of Aaron Rodgers like Tom Brady. Tom Brady was old. Aaron Rodgers is turning 40.
I know. It's just a little bit more of a reminder here. I mean, listen, Brady's the exception. Maybe Rodgers will also be the exception.
Do you think Garrett Wilson gets his confidence from Aaron Rodgers? Because I think I know where he gets his confidence.
Where?
Those $1,400 glasses. Garrett Wilson's glasses game.
That's what you took away from it?
Oh, I'm obsessed with Garrett Wilson's. First of all, he won Rookie of the Year without Rodgers. So I think my point is that they do have a lot of young guys. I totally see what you're saying. Rodgers in the past, I think, has screwed things up with chemistry. I totally agree with that. But I do feel like this Jets team doesn't know any better in the sense they're so young that I feel like they're a little oblivious to all this.
That's all well and good, but you have Super Bowl aspirations.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers isn't there. Like, they're painting it like he's there to be a mentor. And I think he is doing
that part
right,
was
which is
ridiculous.
great.
That part was so over the top.
Listen, I like that part. It's a little over the top.
That felt artificial. When he's coaching Zach Wilson, I'm like, oh, man, Hard Knocks knew that was coming.
I think Rodgers loves an audience. And there is nobody who has to hang on every word more than Zach Wilson. So he might as well be there with a notebook, just like taking notes on everything he says. And I think Rodgers loves a captive audience. He seems like that kind of guy to me. Like, sit next to him on a plane, all of a sudden, it's like, guy won't shut up. Anyway, Rodgers, that's who he reminds me of. Anyway, the thing about the mentorship and all of that, like, that's all well and good. But Rodgers isn't with the Jets for his health. He's not there for a first-round playoff exit. He's not there for any of that. He's there to win a Super Bowl, right? He's there to shove it in the face of the Green Bay Packers and say, look at what you did. You drafted Jordan Love and replaced me. I won 2 MVPs. Then I went to the freaking Jets, and I won a Super Bowl there, and they hadn't won since 1969. That's what he's about. So the mentorship and stuff is awesome now. But once you get into the actual games, that's when you have to try to win, and you must win if you're Rodgers. And I think his patience is going to run thin if guys don't get in line or if there's any, when the inevitable speed bumps come.
I hear you, but listen, he obviously he's not his first rodeo. He's been doing this in Green Bay forever. He knows how to win regular season games. Playoffs, different story. I just think that this team, everything seems fine. I don't worry about it. I don't disagree with that characterization that Rodgers is going to talk your ear off on the airplane. I feel like right now he's probably the coolest person in sports. He just feels like he's a combination of Tom Brady, the quarterback, with Dean Martin, and like he's like the Rat Pack of quarterbacks. Like everybody on the team,
Is that why?
like,
All of them in one.
yeah, he's
because
rolled
of the
into
recreational drug use.
Well, it's
it is
like-
a cool handshake he has with Sauce Gardner.
he's got the
where
cool
they do
handshake with Sauce Gardner with the joint.
index finger to the thumb down, like
Yeah.
smoking a joint. It's pretty
He's
funny.
got that. There were all these
Don't do
clips of
drugs,
these
kids.
young players being like, "Oh my God!" Not only is he Aaron Rodgers, he's cool as bleep. I can't say the word. Everybody was like, "Wow, he's cool," and he's just got this like sort of laid back ayahuasca infused personality that everybody seems to love right now. I feel like he's on cloud nine. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he looks cool, but also the Jets haven't been cool in a long time.
So
Well, I'm just saying it's not like the bar's that high. No offense, Jets fans. I'm just saying.
Seriously.
Sorry.
No offense.
When was the last time the Jets were cool?
Rex.
Yes.
That was a decade ago.
So?
yeah,
Last time we were on
actually,
Hard
Sam Darnold and
Yes,
Sanchez
exactly.
were taking down a lot of high end models. Does that
Sam
count? for him?
Darnold
Oh,
getting
yeah.
what? Getting mono?
Yeah, he
What's
got the
cool
kissing
about
disease.
mononucleosis?
Models,
It's the
Sam
kissing
Darnold
disease. It's the
kissed every
coolest of
young
all.
celebrity in New York City.
Yeah, well, he ended up missing like 6 games.
Was that the beard, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and all his ice and everything? He was all right.
Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's someone who is like, he's just lasted so long, he's cool. There's no actual cool bone in that guy's body.
No, he's super cool. Remember
Shirtless at a Bills game?
hair?
That was awesome.
Yeah, and by the way, like, no, not doing that. Bills gave him $50 million, by the way, and then he sucked. So, no, can't
By
get
the
that
way,
money back or those losses.
Do you guys know that I got mono in college? And I say that because I said it once on the Dan Patrick Show. Got all floods of hate mail. Oh, Perloff was kissing girls in college. Isn't he cool? I didn't mean it as a humble brag. I actually got mono in college.
Is getting mono a humble brag?
Yeah, that's how people perceived it. Like, yeah, then everyone's like, ooh, Perloff thinks he hooked up with a lot of girls because he got mono in college, which is not how I got mono. I got
Also, it's not a lot. It just takes one, right?
Yeah. But Sam Darnold, I think, when he got mono amongst the bro community, it's like, oh, yeah.
Wait, so hold on.
Way
It
to
wasn't
go.
from kissing a girl. How did you get it?
You can get mono all sorts of ways, by the way. And I might have been kissing a girl. I mean, I was 20 years old. I hope
I hope there were a couple nights in there.
Trust me, I did not get in high school. I can guarantee you that. That I
The
can
truth comes out.
factually tell you.
Oh, man. Actually, my brother got mono in college the first 2 weeks he was there.
Yeah.
Like, we
I
dropped
mean,
him off, and then he was
Nice.
home for a month.
Mono.
I was like, all right, let's try this again. Drop him off again.
Oh, mono is the worst.
Never got it.
Yeah, but
Got very selective.
I hope this isn't a controversial statement. COVID, mono, same exact thing.
What is it?
COVID and mono are the same exact thing. I had every mono symptom all over again.
No, but mono's not deadly.
No. But I'm
Yeah.
saying the way I got COVID.
The way
like,
you pass it from one another.
Well, you know how COVID has 14 varied symptoms that make no sense and
Yeah.
don't fit together? That's completely what mono is. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just so tired for weeks on end.
Still living off that mono in college humble
Yeah,
brag.
yeah.
855-212-4CBS.
I also got chlamydia. I'm joking.
That woke up our intern.
I'm joking.
Hello.
Trying to see if this thing is working.
Well, that's a rough 24 hours or 48. I don't know.
All at once.
You know who we should bring in? Let's bring a caller into the situation. 855-212-4CBS. Jeff in Pennsylvania had a thought about Aaron Rodgers. Jeff, how are you doing, dude?
Hey, I'm doing well, guys. How are you today?
Doing great.
So what do you guys think that maybe this is just all about Jordan Love really, really upset him, and he was willing to just do whatever he wanted if the Packers weren't going to get rid of him?
Yeah, I think this is all a reaction to Jordan. I think a lot of it's a reaction to Jordan Love. Is that what you mean?
Not to Jordan Love, the person,
Yeah.
the pick of
Yeah,
Jordan
just
Love.
the pick of Jordan
And
Love.
being
Yeah.
drafted, right. What if Rodgers is really just cool, and now he's able to kind of let loose?
Oh, like he's been cool the whole time, and he's been hiding it?
'Cause did we really hear much about Rodgers other than he's just similar to Brady and he wants everything perfect, but we never really heard horrible things about him. He just wanted things perfect.
Right. Maybe there was
Unlike Carson Wentz.
we had to bring Wentz into it. I mean, polar opposites
I
there,
did.
Jeff.
Perloff, maybe you just have to accept the Eagles were good and the quarterback just didn't need to screw it up because Foles and Wentz both did well. Left the Eagles did nothing.
There you go.
Maybe it's just the Eagles are a good team.
So you're saying, okay, I think I get what you're saying.
Jeff, thank you for the phone call. Jeff hitting a lot of lily pads there we can jump to.
Yeah, this Rodgers thing, I got to tell you, Rodgers to me has always been a seeker, but it's getting much more open now because he's gone into astrology. He's gone into the ayahuasca. And I don't know what other drugs he's doing, but it seems like he's a fan of
It's safe to say marijuana might be on the menu.
Solutions.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, though, my experience, I think I've told you this with Aaron Rodgers. One time we were at a Super Bowl set, and he sat down next to me, and we were waiting for the segment to start. He goes, hey, and he asked you, so got anything good for me to watch on Netflix? He was just collecting Netflix shows, which is I know it's super, he's kind of like this, he's kind of one of us in the sense that I think he likes the same things we all do, like interesting shows on TV and different theories. I mean, we sat and debated aliens the other day for 20 minutes.
Or how the world's going to end draft.
I don't think Rodgers is much more complicated than it seems on paper, but I could be wrong.
I think he's a human being. I think he can make small talk. I think he's got charisma. I think he's charming. I think he has all those things. I also think that he is reveling in being he and Hackett know the offense. So everyone has to come to him. He's teaching everything. I think he likes that. But when it comes down to now winning time, the teaching's got to be over and the execution has got to happen. And I'm wondering if he's going to be as even-keeled because look at what's going on. Everything's on his shoulders. Someone else might get blamed if they don't win, like Salah might be gone or something like that. But everyone knows that's ancillary. He's the franchise now. And so with Super Bowl expectations, even more so than I think than in Green Bay, this is a chips all in the middle of the table move. And if it doesn't work out, I can see him calling people out on it.
Well, last year, though, we didn't know. He never really called people out after the season started much, did he? I mean, when they started off Christian Watson dropped that bomb in week 1. I don't feel like Aaron Rodgers whatever was happening behind the scenes didn't percolate in front of the camera. He kept saying, I want to play until we're mathematically out. Then they got hot at the end of the year. I don't remember him ever imploding or hurting the team.
I don't know how much confidence he was instilling in those guys.
Yeah, but they got super hot towards the end of the season. I've got to credit Rodgers for that. They were so young. I mean, listen, Christian Watson was a different player by the end of the season. So I don't know. Rodgers, I'd credit him for that.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay. We got a lot to do today. Really, really big show. Glad you're along with us. You want to watch the show? Come on in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio is where you can find us. Now, if you guys have been listening to us for a while, you know that through a lot of the weeks of the summer, we were doing something called the Great Debate Series. We were going through different types of things that we were debating, whether it was top 25 athletes since 2000, what was greatest college football teams of all time, whether it was greatest individual rivalries of all time, it was greatest fictional rivalries of all time, sports movies, stuff like that. We bring back the Great Debate Series today. We're going to start doing it on Wednesdays moving forward through the football season. So the Great Debate Series continues. We'll tell you the topic after this. Just know it was inspired by Johnny Manziel. Get to that in just moments. You want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, 855-212-4CBS. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio. And this show is sponsored in part by BetterHelp. Perloff, sometimes in life we're faced with tough choices. We both know that. And the path forward, it isn't always clear. So whether you're dealing with decisions around your career, or maybe relationships, or just anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. So therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind.
We've all been through some unpredictable times over the past few years, and it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time with no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/MNP. That's BetterHelp.com/MANDP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/MNP.
Okay, so here's a question.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.
You know, he seems very, very well liked. He's kind of the modern Joe Namath. He really is. He's like a podcast era Joe Namath. If Joe Namath could have a podcast, he would be Aaron Rodgers.
I know, but Joe Namath, I guess, wasn't he sort of like, very cool, the fur coat.
Super cool.
But forgive me because I wasn't alive during Joe Namath, so I've only had to like go back and read about it or like watch, documentaries and stuff. But wasn't he also kind of like a womanizing, drinking, that kind of thing? Like he had some Mickey Mantle kind of situation going on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he famously is in recovery now after that night on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, with Susie Colbert, sure.
So I think that Aaron Rodgers is replacing the booze with drugs, so we'll go there automatically.
But famous bachelor, I guess, right?
Aaron Rodgers has definitely dated a lot of famous women, too. I know Joe Namath was a little more over the top, but I feel like Aaron Rodgers is a toned-down version of that. He's like all about Broadway. He's Broadway Aaron Rodgers.
He did go to the Tonys.
Yeah, he went to the Tonys. How do you get more Broadway than that, Maggie?
I don't know. This was actually one of my other favorite moments last night. We'll get to our great debate series in just a minute. From Manziel Smart, who I've never heard of Manziel Smart before. But this was hilarious, him talking to his fellow defensive linemen, because Rodgers, we know, is doing the Broadway thing. And this is what it's like when guys who have no idea about Broadway start talking about it.
I want to go to a Broadway show. I want to eat a coochie board.
What?
That actually had nothing to do with Broadway, I think.
Yeah.
He said he wanted
a charcuterie board.
Yeah, he knew the camera was on. He knew that whole scene was so. Actually, they were like looking at the camera, like, "Hey, get this. We're going to talk about Broadway."
I know. A lot of that episode was actually about Hard Knocks and made it very
coochie board.
Made it kind of meta. Okay, let's.
But wait, can you say the word correctly?
Charcuterie.
Oh, you're so good. I'm glad I don't have to say it.
Okay. So as I said, we're getting back into the great debate series. We're going to do this on Wednesdays moving forward throughout the college football and NFL season. Now, today's great debate is inspired by Johnny Manziel. So Johnny Manziel is a new documentary. It's part of the Untold series, which has done some other really great documentary pieces on Netflix. And Manziel's like sort of coming clean about why things flamed out so spectacularly in the NFL and just sort of the highs of college and then the lows of the NFL and beyond. And so here is a clip from last night, the premiere last night, where his agent is talking about teams were worried because Manziel was not watching any tape.
Their GM's calling me going, he doesn't watch tape. I'm like, well, he's got to watch some tape. It's like, EB, his iPad hours is 0.00.
Zero.
That's Manziel. Zero. He holds up his hand like making an O, not watching any tape whatsoever. Not exactly what you expect from a modern quarterback.
Well, I like his consistency, though,
Yeah.
The funny thing was Eric Burkhart, the agent, and Johnny Manziel sounded so proud of that. Like, I have to watch the whole documentary, but there wasn't like, they didn't seem embarrassed. They're like, isn't that cool? We didn't watch any tape.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately they realized that it really catches up with them.
Yeah, I got to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I do too. So last night I had to watch Hard Knocks. I mean, there's just too much to watch, but I'm planning on watching it tonight. But our great debate series inspired by Johnny Manziel. Well, let's hit the music.
The Great Debate Series. Flash in the pan.
Yes, not going biggest bust. We're going to try to put a more positive spin on this, Perloff.
Yeah.
And call Johnny Manziel a flash in the pan. Now, I think he qualifies, someone who had the highest of highs in, his career at Texas A&M, winning the Heisman Trophy, and then he does get drafted in the first round by the Cleveland Browns, and then basically it all goes downhill from there.
Definitely. We could get into Hamilton Tiger Cats. None of that worked. So he's, in many ways, the ultimate flash in the pan because his flash was so bright. Yeah. He just took over the sports world.
Okay, you want to go first? Who's your big flash in the pan?
My flash in the pan, like Johnny Manziel, completely took over the sports world. Now, this is going back a little bit, but Buster Douglas, who famously beat Mike Tyson February 23rd, 1990, nobody had gotten even 5 rounds with Tyson in over 4 years. Tyson just killed everybody. This was supposed to be a tune-up fight for Evander Holyfield in Japan, and Douglas shocked the world. We might have found out later that Tyson was going through a couple things, but Douglas shocked the world by knocking out Mike Tyson, and then he had the greatest month of anybody's life ever. I remember he was on Letterman. He refereed a match between Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage.
That's cool.
He became a full-time celebrity. So you might ask, what happened to his career, Maggie? So he had one more fight. He didn't want to mess with Tyson again because Tyson had tried to say that the fight was wrongfully decided for Douglas. Anyway, so he fought Holyfield. He kind of came. He was the heaviest he'd ever been for a fight.
Yep.
246 pounds, lasted 3 rounds. Holyfield obviously was not messing around at that point of his career in 1990. Then he retired. It was over.
Yeah.
So he basically beat Tyson and then went away, although I think he's always been one of those names that people always like.
Buster Douglas is a great one. The 30 for 30, 42-1. Those were the odds against him in that Tyson match. He was a 42-1 fave. And the other thing about that we learned about in that 30 for 30, right, was that Buster Douglas, I think his mother had just passed away, or grandmother, and he was like, grief-stricken, so he wasn't eating very much. He was still working out like a madman. He was like singularly focused because of a tragedy that happened. And yes, you alluded to Mike Tyson has later said that it was like some kind of he was some kind of like
so many different
thing that he was up all night having sex or something, and that's why he didn't perform his best against Douglas.
I think his entire life was imploding. Let's hear the end of the fight against Tyson.
Oh, nice uppercut by Buster Douglas. Look at this. He's knocked down for the first time in his career. Mike Tyson hits the canvas. He's in big trouble. He's not going to make it. Unbelievable. Buster Douglas is the new heavyweight champion of the world.
What a call. I mean, and it matches the moment, that call. Because it was that big of a shock.
Anyone who doesn't understand, who wasn't there, how formidable Mike Tyson was. It was like nothing in any sport. He was the scariest athlete I've ever seen. I mean, they're scary. But he would go out there. What did he beat? Marvis Frazier in 30 seconds? He was the most ferocious fighter of my lifetime by far. The fact that you could not only hang with him, but beat him, then unfortunately, Tyson went south, too.
Yeah.
He's shooting not so long after he bit Evander Holyfield's ear. Nothing good happened until he made that dramatic comeback in The Hangover. In The Hangover. And he's been in a Broadway show. Everything's good now. But Buster Douglas is my ultimate flash in the pan.
Man, it's a good one, but I think I can beat it. If you're asking who is the greatest flash in the pan, it's a man who even has the nickname that no one will ever forget. Linsanity. Jeremy Lin. Great flash in the pan. Let's hear it.
Tied at 87. Lin with the ball in his hands. Fans on their feet. 5, 4. Lin for the win. Got it.
Jeremy Lin, the out of nowhere story where he's from Northern California, from the Bay Area. No colleges would offer him a scholarship. He ends up going to Harvard, of course. Doesn't get drafted, goes into the G League, bouncing around all these different teams, latches on to the Knicks in 2012, where he helped a team that was really at a crux of their season in February after the All-Star break and helped propel them towards a playoff appearance. And I believe, actually, they won a playoff series, right? In 22. No, they did not. They lost one. Okay. He's inserted into the starting lineup, and they win 7 straight. He gets 2 Sports Illustrated covers back-to-back. He's Time Magazine and makes the Time 100 of one of the most influential players in the world as a Taiwanese American playing in the NBA. He worked perfectly in Mike D'Antoni's system. D'Antoni ends up getting fired in March of that season. They bring in Mike Woodson, elevate Mike Woodson. It didn't end up really having the same effect. Jeremy Lin gets a knee injury, has a torn meniscus, gets surgery, and never plays for the Knicks again. Now, Lin did go on to keep playing in the NBA. Perloff played for Houston and the Lakers and Charlotte and Brooklyn and Atlanta, and he even won a title with the Raptors, even though he was on the bench.
Is he not playing anymore?
He's playing in Beijing, I think.
Oh, okay.
But obviously never even came close to reaching the heights of what happened in those magical 24 5 days or whatever that Jeremy Lin took over the sports world. Linsanity, greatest flash in the pan.
Yeah, I was at SI when they did back-to-back covers. This is going to sound like I'm being a wet blanket, but part of it was Pablo Torre, who wrote both stories, went to Harvard with Jeremy Lin and had already done a feature on him. So they had these great features on Jeremy Lin and this writer who knew him. So that helped with the back-to-back covers. Is that fair to say?
Listen,
There's
that
no
was
way-
the biggest story in sports.
Yeah, but back-to-back covers, we're talking about, I looked at the list. That's like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Dirk happened to get back-to-back covers, but it's incredibly rare. No NBA player mid-season have ever gotten back-to-back covers. So it was in a ridiculously high echelon of athletes with that honor. In part, it just sort of worked out that way. And I don't think anything else was going on. So Jeremy Lin was incredibly, incredibly impactful. Do you know why I like this so much? Because it came and went so fast.
I know. See, that's the definition of the flash of the pan.
So
now,
fast.
For Lin, for Jeremy Lin, he, like I said, he did keep playing, but it was never to the point. He was all, and listen, got a chance to interview him. Great guy from all accounts, has used his platform in a positive way. Had to deal with a lot of unnecessary, ridiculous backlash at that time. People really, some people did not handle his success very well because as an Asian American, and there were a lot of weird there was a lot of weird commentary around him that was not warranted. So he dealt with a lot of BS at the time, and yeah. Very memorable. Also has a documentary about him as well. So there you go.
My counter argument, I'm looking at his stats. Dude put up some numbers in the NBA. Not bad. How many double digits he averaged double digits 7 times in his NBA career. That's amazing.
I know, but not many playoff appearances until he caught on with the Raptors and they won the title.
But he was like at 11.2, 11.7. So he was never.
Barely double digits.
Yeah. He never was putting any of those 40 burgers up again.
Okay, time to go to Rich Ackerman, our resident sports historian here. Flashes in the pan.
I have 3 for you.
Okay, go.
Hit us.
Timmy Smith, Washington Redskins, running back.
227. How many yards was it? Do you know?
I think it was 202.
Oh, okay.
Then wanted a new contract, so he held out, reported late and overweight, and that was it. Another running back, short time later, Icky Woods.
Yeah, Icky Woods is on the list of almosts.
Yep, and I'll go back.
Icky Woods, it was amazing. It was 1,100 yards rushing, right, that rookie season.
Yep.
And then a combined 500 yards the rest of his career.
Tore up his knee, and that was it.
Yep.
204 yards. You were right
off
there.
by 2.
Yeah, by the way, Icky though had a dance that lasts for a lifetime. So I don't care how many thousand yards he's
commercial.
Yeah. He's good.
And the last one will be Mark the Bird Fidrich.
Yep, Mark Fidrich had an incredible rookie year and never won more than 6 games the rest of his career.
Over 250 innings pitched at the age of 21. He made 29 starts his rookie year. The rest of his career, he made 27.
Yeah, it's wild. So we had a couple others that were sort of near the list. Perloff had this good poll.
I'm looking at his numbers now. Jonas Gray of the Patriots, who had this amazing game. I'm trying to find out exactly how many yards. Did he have 200 yards?
It was over 200 yards and 5 touchdowns.
In one game? Yeah.
Against the Indianapolis Colts.
Then he was late for practice the next week.
Overslept.
And he never really played again for the Patriots or anyone else. Yeah. Which goes to show you that's Belichick. It also is
Notre Dame guy.
Maybe why we're not paying running backs this segment shows with Timmy Smith and Jonas Gray.
Icky Woods, too.
And Icky Woods.
Another one, Brady Anderson, who had an all-time season, but
he had a lengthy career, though.
He did, but never
like that. Though.
Never reached the heights of 1996. You know what was going on in 96? Guys were looking real big. I don't know. He was probably on steroids.
Ask's got a good point. He had 3 All-Stars appearances. He was like a thin, fast guy at most of his career. Then boom. I was like a Luis Gonzalez like that, sort of one just ridiculous season.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Getting some interesting suggestions in the chat. We're going to have to wait on that. We're just a little bit late here to the update, but we see you guys with a couple interesting ones. I had not thought about this. All right, we'll get to those. The Weedos coming through strong. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio is where you can watch the show. Of course, we're across the country on our amazing CBS Sports Radio affiliates. We're on the absolutely free to download Odyssey app. It's crystal clear. And Sirius XM channel 158. Coming back with this in a moment. This is going to be a seminal moment in the show because I'm actually going to say something nice about an NFL owner. It's going to happen. After this CBS Sports Update, here's Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Henry Ruggs will spend at least the next 3 years in jail. The former Raiders receiver was sentenced today for a deadly crash in Las Vegas in 2021 when he was driving as fast as 156 miles an hour. The blood alcohol level twice the legal limit. Ruggs had entered a plea deal back in May. Baseball today, a couple of games going on right now, and the Marlins have just taken a one-run lead over the Reds in the top of the ninth, 5-4. Ryan Delacruz putting them ahead with his 16th home run of the season. Josh Bell with 2 today for Miami, while Spencer Steers hit his 18th for Cincinnati. Christian Encarnacion Strand with his 3rd. Bottom of the 5th in Milwaukee, the Rockies and Brewers are even at 2. Willie Adames has just homered his 18th for Milwaukee. And just underway, the Texas Rangers looking to make it 9 in a row and going for the sweep of the A's in Oakland. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Summer is officially here, but CBS Sports Radio never goes on vacation. We'll keep you company all season long with the most entertaining content and all the breaking news that you need. Keep us locked in on your local Odyssey affiliate, Sirius XM channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It's time to Ask the Pros, where you guys can ask us a question, and gals. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Maggie and Pearl. Use the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show and we might answer your question. You got to thank O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Great debate series continues today. Greatest flash in the pan of all time. Our inspiration for this was Johnny Manziel, who has a new documentary out where he kind of comes clean about the highs and the lows of his football career and some very personal stuff about going through some pretty dark times, a suicide attempt, a couple very, very serious things. But we decided because Manziel, I think, qualifies as a flash in the pan. Highs were high, beats Alabama in Tuscaloosa, wins the Heisman Trophy, but then gets to Cleveland, and it was a disaster. And don't forget, Dallas Cowboys fans, if Jerry Jones would have had his way, Manziel would have been your pick at quarterback, and instead it's Zach Martin, who I know is holding out now, but has been a very serviceable and is a future Hall of Fame right guard.
Yeah, they definitely got lucky on that one.
Yeah, some other flash in the pans who have been suggested by the Weedos, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio is where the Weedos hang in the chat. Peyton Hillis.
Yeah.
Very good one. Comes from Moist.
He made an EA Sports cover.
He made the Madden cover, and that was his only 1,000-yard season. Other seasons, 340 yards, 54 yards, 587 yards, 300, 200, 100. Never reached those heights again. And then who said this? I've got to give them credit, but Eddie Lacy. Now, Eddie Lacy won Offensive Rookie of the Year, 2013. He did follow it up, though, with another 1,000-yard rushing season the next year.
Okay.
So you get 2,000-yard rushing seasons.
Yeah.
Over 1,100 yards.
He was a big boy. Let's not lie about what happened with Eddie Lacy, but he was also really good in college. So I don't think I put him in the same category. I think if you're a football player and you're really good in college, then you do a little something in the NFL, You're not quite a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I think you have to have two. If you have two really good years, I don't think you qualify as a flash in the pan. I think one really good year, like Peyton Hillis, that's a good one.
Well, I don't think Tim Tebow had one good year in the NFL, right? Or one,
like 6 good games.
One productive year.
Yeah.
And they weren't even that good. He just ran a lot. So, but he was such a college superstar, so that's not a flash in the pan.
I don't think so. He was a flash in the pan NFL-wise, but not overall.
Right. I think if you were good enough in college, like Ickey Woods, that's a flash in the pan. I don't even know where he went to college, Nevada or something. So, anyway, Eddie Lacy, I'm not going to give it to you. Ruling no.
Yeah, he was too good.
Too good.
He's too good to be a flash in the pan. 855-212-4CBS. So we're talking about flashes in the pan. We're also talking about Hard Knocks and our takeaways from episode 1, the Aaron Rodgers love episode. If that episode could make love to Aaron Rodgers, that's what happened last night on TV. Surprise, HBO didn't get mono off of that one. Nathan is in L.A. like Perloff did in college. Nathan, how are you?
Oh, yeah.
It's good to talk to you guys again, Maggie. Yeah, I'm good. Couple of favorite moments from yesterday's Hard Knocks.
Mm-hmm.
One, did you remember seeing Sauce Gardner at one point is talking to Aaron? He said something to the effect of, I want to play for 40 years.
Yeah, we have the audio of that, actually.
And
we can
Aaron
play
sort of looks at Sauce, and I think like 500 words went through his head, and the only thing he come up with to say was, that's a long time.
Yeah, let's hear a little of that clip.
Cool experience right here, man.
You'll be here one day.
Hey, man, that's the plan.
I'll be real old and gray when that happens, but...
Hey, that's what I think about, bro. My mom always tells me, like, she always used to tell me to stay a kid as long as I could. And it's like, if I'm really going to do this, bro, I'm going to be older, bro. Because, you know, like, I got aspirations of playing in the league for 40 years.
It's going to be a long time.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a 40-year-old.
He saves it there at the end where he says, I'm trying to be a 40-year-old out here. But think about it. How we've been going... Let's really think about it for a second. Nathan, thank you so much for the phone call, sir. Brady plays till he's 45. Yep. Could we have a corner play till he's 60?
I don't think we're going to. Considering corner, you're ancient at 29.
How far away are we from the first 60-year-old athlete?
Yeah, a quarterback. We don't have to do anything. But corner, give me a break. 64, 60, yeah, 60. It'll be a quarterback. It'll definitely, or a golfer.
Or like a kicker. I'm talking about NFL.
I mean, a kicker but quarterback, because you can't hit a quarterback now. I mean, listen, science is much better. Avocado ice cream.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, these guys, it's like the pliability, no nightshade vegetables, all that stuff. They don't put anything bad in their body, but I don't know if ayahuasca is good for you. But anyway, all these things to help you prevent the aging process.
Yeah, cornerback, not so much. You're dead at that position.
Philip is in Florida, has got a flash in the pan for us. Hey, Philip, how are you?
Great. Greatest flash in the pan ever at like 16 or 17 years old, maybe 18. He won the U.S. Open in maybe 1916, the U.S. Open golf. Francis, we met. He was a caddy, and he playing his home course. He beat the greatest 3 golfers in the world.
And what year was this?
1916, maybe. They made a movie about it, and his name is
You're talking about
Francis
Bagger Vance?
With a Q.
So is this Bagger Vance? I don't know.
No, but look him up. He
did he
amazing
have a ghost caddy?
Caddy wins the U.S. Open.
Pretty good, Philip. Thank you so much for flashes in the pan going back to 1915. I mean, we did say greatest of all time. We did not put it, we didn't say, since 1950 or something. So fair game.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
1913, pardon me.
If you're talking flashes in the pan, you're talking Francis Ouimet. That's cool, though. Remember there was a caddy a couple tournaments ago who did really, really well. Was it the U.S. Open?
But if you want to go golfer, like you have Rich Beam, who, held off Tiger in 2002 in the PGA, right? And then I don't think ever won again. So someone like that.
In golf, you have a bunch because, the nature of the sport is hard to win even one major. So a lot of guys have won just one.
Feels like they're flashes of the pan. Meanwhile, they're on tour for 20 years.
Right.
Yeah. Quickly, George is in Oregon. George, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Who's your flash in the pan?
I got to be sort of a regional pick, Sam Bowie for the Trailblazers.
Yeah, I think so that's a great one. George, thank you so much for the call. Is it just because of injury, though, right? That Sam Bowie, I guess we could say the same thing about Ickey Woods. He did get hurt also, and that kind of made him the flash in the pan?
Yeah, I guess he fits in that, sort of one and done category, but that was a tragic injury. There's a different category for tragic injuries.
That's what I was thinking, right? Sam Bowie, we'll have to think about that one, but thank you for the call, 855-212-4CBS. Okay, lots more to do, including the SEC talking about expansion.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Altuve buzzer is definite.
Oh, you guys are nuts if you think he actually had a buzzer under there. He did it.
What? Wait, Stu, do you believe the buzzer?
I believe the buzzer.
You do?
I think everybody
nuts.
believes the buzzer.
No. Think about how silly that really is. And you think all these years later, nobody would have spilled the beans? Nobody said a word?
Yeah, but it was so awkward the way he was hiding something.
No, he had a stupid tattoo and didn't want people to rip his shirt off.
Oh, get out of here.
I believe that.
Who on earth?
Sure. Wait a minute, Ackerman.
Anyone I know with a tattoo wants to show that tattoo more than anything in the world.
You guys, I thought I was the conspiracy theorist around here. You guys sound whack.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff across the country, CBS Sports Radio. Great debate series goes on today. We're going to do this now on Wednesdays during the college football and the NFL season. Perloff today, greatest flash in the pan. It's a little
sports flash in the pan.
Homage to Johnny Manziel. Yeah, is that implied?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Although with us, you never know.
Yeah, there's got to be some great Hollywood flashes in the pan, guys with one movie. And
oh, I'm sure. We'll get to that next week.
Yeah.
Don't give away our content. So for me, my greatest flash in the pan is Jeremy Lin Sanity. For you, Perloff?
Buster Douglas, who beat Mike Tyson in 1990.
We've got some other really great entries to this. Peyton Hillis was a good one. I got another one for you. Michelle Wie. Michelle Wie is a flash in the pan. That one came from the Weedos and the Purple Drankers. Of course, those are the people who watch our show in our YouTube chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Yes, Andrew?
Of course the Weedos are going to go with Michelle Wie.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Close. And I think we should leave the dad jokes to Perloff.
Come on, that was good.
It wasn't. Okay, so the big topic on the table. I'm sorry.
What was Michelle Wie's flash, though? Just because she was so young?
No, and she wanted. She
one.
Played on the men's tour.
She played on the men's tour, and then she won one LPGA.
Like when? Like not in the beginning, though.
No, it took a little while.
She golfed for a long. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that qualifies. I'm just gonna say it. Yeah, she was famous.
You have to win because I have one that never won, but I think it's a huge flash in the pan.
Who's that?
Anna Kournikova. I mean, she was a megastar.
Yeah,
for a while.
She was around for, and she was never her dominance wasn't based off of her winning. It was based off of her modeling, I guess, and who she dated. So she wasn't really a flash in the pan. She was around in there for long enough, I think, that she wasn't a flash in the pan.
I'll give you a different tennis player, though. Now you got me thinking about women's tennis players. Jennifer Capriati. I mean, hers was kind of like a sad downfall. It's a little more of a Johnny Manziel
and then she came back and won a gold medal later in her career, too,
That's true. She did have a comeback. Tracy Austin.
How long did it last for Jennifer Capriati?
Like, I think about a year, maybe.
That was it? Oh, I thought it was longer. Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So now
I got a golfer, Rocco Mediate.
Yeah, Rocco.
I've never seen more of a one-tournament wonder, and he didn't even win.
No, I know, but it was such an epic playoff.
Yeah,
you know?
and had you ever heard of him since or before?
No, but I bet he's on the senior tour.
Oh, I bet he's probably earned $74 million on the tour through the years.
We got a couple more good ones here. Trevor is in the chat. Sebastian Telfair. Now, he's had a bit of a sad ending now, where I think he's actually in jail, right? But high school phenom, Lance Stevenson is another guy. Went to Lincoln High School.
Just back to Capriati. So she had a good 4-year run from 90 to 93 before all the trouble started in 94. So she made 6 quarterfinals and 3 semifinals in that 4-year span of time. So she was in the Grand Slams.
All right, so way more than a flash in the pan.
But I think 4 years could be a flash in the pan.
I don't know. We're saying about Eddie Lacy had 2 good seasons, but he doesn't qualify. So anyway,
first segment ever to have Eddie Lacy and Jennifer Capriati in the same segment
in the history of Sports Talk Radio.
What, they're not natural conversation connectors.
They're just not making shows like they used to. Listen. All right, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, the college football college football realignment. Rather, we'll save the playoff for another moment. Here was Greg Sankey. So he's the commissioner of the SEC. And he was on the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday. This is the first time he's made any public comments since the Pac-12 disintegrated. And obviously, as the SEC commissioner, he's the most powerful commissioner in college football. Here he was talking to Feinbaum about why they didn't go after any of the West Coast teams and try to poach them for the SEC.
We have this contiguous group that has a national platform. We don't need to be in 4 time zones to generate interest on the West Coast or really across the globe.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand what he's saying there, Perloff. As much as USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington, are, programs with a lot of tradition, programs with big alumni bases, send lots of guys to the NFL, stuff like that. I don't see them as natural fits for the SEC. Nope. I'm not surprised that they didn't go after those Pac-12 teams.
And it's actually, his comment is really interesting because Alabama is a very national brand that I'm sure there's probably more West Coast Alabama fans than a lot of those Pac-12 schools. Alabama fans are not maintained just this small state of Alabama at all. It's like an NFL team where they get sort of gone national. So, and I think
the winning.
Yeah, I think, and also just the tradition. Most famous coach of all time, Bear Bryant, then the best coach of all time, Nick Saban. Everyone knows Alabama. Probably internationally, Alabama's got to be the most famous. Notre Dame is one, Alabama too. But the other thing too is they've already mastered recruiting on the West Coast. I mean, think Bryce Young went from L.A. to Alabama. So if they could get all the quarterbacks out of California, what do they need it for? Remember Big Ten expanded to Rutgers?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, they're going to finally get a footprint on the East Coast. That was the most ridiculous thing ever. Do you know a single person on the East Coast of the United States who watches more Big Ten football because Rutgers is there?
No, that was about expanding into the New York, getting Big Ten Network on in New York and stuff like that, right? Cable subscribers.
You've lived in New York for a while. Do you know anyone who watches the Big Ten because Rutgers is in there? I do not.
Listen, I live in the state of New Jersey, so I know some Rutgers people, and they're really into it. But as far as recruiting, I don't know that.
Or even TV, really. I think. Rutgers doesn't even get on. Is it Michigan, Ohio State get many more New York viewers than a Rutgers game?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, definitely. Of course, yes.
They didn't need Rutgers. They could have just marketed Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, but they wanted the New York cable market, which gets added whether you watch it or not, right? Because you get all those cable subscribers, don't you? And then who buy the sports package.
Could be.
And then they get the Big Ten Network. And then also they wanted Maryland for the Maryland, D.C. area. So they were targeting 2 big metropolises.
So you could get, when you were in a New York cable, you could get the Big Ten Network only because Rutgers was, first of all, I don't get the Big Ten Network, so I don't even know. Do you get the Big Ten? It's one of the harder ones to get.
You need an upper tier cable package.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like that whole thing about, we need a footprint on the East Coast was all just ridiculous because Ohio State and Michigan are national. Alabama's national. Now Georgia with 2 titles is national. I just think that Sankey's right. I think these are now much bigger than their little corners of the country.
Well, the one thing, though, about what Sankey is saying, and he said it many times yesterday, for now, right, the SEC, they're not looking to expand. They're adding Oklahoma and Texas. They feel really good about that, and that's it for now. But I'm old enough to remember last week when Florida State was making a really big ruckus about how they want to leave the ACC, which might be really hard, might just be a lot of all bark, no bite. But where would Florida State go? That's not going to the Big Ten. They'd obviously want to go to the SEC. Same with Clemson.
I think they were trying to get to the Big Ten last week, but yes.
Well, but wouldn't it make a lot more sense for Florida State to be in the SEC?
Florida State back. I think Clemson and Florida State, and then Miami right behind them, North Carolina. It'd be an incredible super conference. At least on the football side. And I think you could make a pretty good basketball conference.
Yeah, with Kentucky and everything.
For competitive, this again, I don't want to rip apart rivalries, but I think that's already happened. So why not? Let's do it, Maggie. Let's do the 2 super conferences. Go head to head. Crown your Big Ten champion, crown your SEC champion, and meet them in the Super Bowl of college football.
Well, I mean, listen, you could do that, but that's not the only way you could do it. You could, Chip Kelly had a pretty good idea yesterday. I haven't heard from Chip in a while, but Chip Kelly basically said, keep all the non-football sports in their conferences. And when it comes to football, start with a whiteboard and you take 64 teams as a top tier and then 64 more teams as the second tier. The top tier plays its own championship. The second tier plays its own championship. And you get a lot of top tier college football, and they all play, and it's all going to be independent and keep all the other sports in their conferences.
Great. So would you have the conferences within that 64 teams?
No. It's just like ranking. Maybe divisions. Maybe you just make it like the NFL. I want to get to Chip's his tweet because it was really good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought he made a lot of sense here. Well, I'll find it.
Well, listen, this is not the first. He's not the first one to say let's have a Power 5 60 school tournament. But the conferences have to decide. They have all the power, so they're not going to do that. They're not going to get rid of the conferences. They might break off from everybody else, but I don't think they're going to get rid of it.
So Chip Kelly said this. He said, Notre Dame is an independent in football, but they're in a conference for everything else. Why aren't we all independent for football? Take the 64 teams in Power 5, make that one division, and the 64 teams in the Group of 5 and make that another division. We play for a championship, they play for a championship, and no one else gets affected. Our sport is different than everyone else. We only play once a week. Travel's not a big deal for football, but it's a big deal for other sports.
There's zero chance of that happening.
Well, but I mean, we're putting ideas out there now. We're trying to. This is the time. In chaos comes, new ideas.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry. I love Chip Kelly as a college coach, but there's no way he's outfoxing Greg Sankey and kicking the SEC to the curb. It's just never going. The SEC has so much power to get rid of all conferences. For football, it seems insane to me. I mean, that'd be an incredible accomplishment, but can you see the Big Ten going away and the SEC going away?
I'm just talking about something that makes sense. Would that make more sense?
I don't think so. Then you'd kill every rivalry.
Well, are we on our way to that anyway?
I
thought you were the one last week who said it didn't matter anymore.
Well, Michigan, Ohio State
too.
Well, here's the thing, too. When you schedule, like you said last week, what's, Oregon and Oregon State, why wouldn't they just schedule a game with each other? Why can't Michigan and Ohio State keep their rivalry? Why can't Auburn and Alabama? It's one game. Schedule that one game.
You could, but I mean, I think it's a very unrealistic idea because I do think the conferences have a lot of power. I mean, I think Sankey is probably the most powerful person here. And Chip Kelly, the head coach of UCLA football, is on the lower tier of power.
He was thought of as an innovator on the college level. Yes,
I will say, and listen, I understand why Sankey is like this because the SEC is the king. But he just sounds so cocky to me. And this is what we were talking about before the show. It's just like, I understand you probably don't need USC to be dominant, but if you can bring in USC in the LA market, why not do it? There's a difference between we don't need it, and if you want to be powerful and you want to think long term and you want to think globally, not bringing SEC is either A, too cocky, B, too short-sighted, or C, just the wrong move.
Not bringing USC, you mean?
What did I say?
SEC, USC.
I meant to say USC.
USC, I think, also deserves a little bit of the blame here because USC is a gold standard brand in college football that really fell off.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just say they kind of nicked away at that brand with some management decisions.
I know,
but regardless,
with multiple athletic director hires and coaching hires, and it wasn't working out. They're losing their own, quarterbacks in their own backyard are going to Alabama and going to different schools. But
it feels like they're back now.
Well, now with Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, now they're back. But that was 10 years.
Well, the funny thing about them, they don't spend on coaches. Between Pete Carroll, by the way, was not some hot in-demand coach when they got him. So they went Clay Helton route because, to their credit, USC seemed to focus everywhere. And now it's probably has there been a college that's improved more than USC? You know how hard it is to get into USC now? It's like Harvard It's
I know.
the hottest school
Was
in the
it
country.
Operation Varsity Blues? When all those,
people will kill to get to
actors
USC.
and actresses
So
were
USC has gone
getting in
into
trouble?
its own thing. But a USC Ole Miss rivalry is the dumbest thing I ever heard of, Sam. I don't know why you would want these teams to play.
No, but I don't think it matters if it's a rivalry or not. I'm just talking about, you're talking about ratings and money, and we're talking about.
I don't think the SEC needs USC at all.
They don't need USC, but again, you don't need them, but they're the LA market. They're one of the greatest programs in college football history. Why not take them anyway? Because eventually we don't know what the future of college football is going to look like. Why not make your conference as strong as possible in any way that you can? Add USC, add the best programs that you can.
I think that's why FSU and Clemson are probably right there. The problem is there is this ESPN long-term TV contract that the ACC is into right now. So to break it is going to be hard.
It just feels like the SEC, there's like a cultural and there's like kind of an emotional attachment to like the regional aspect of it.
Sure.
Exactly.
That I think is important. That I think Texas and Oklahoma kind of fit in a little better than a USC or a UCLA. So I think from Sankey's standpoint, he's looking at that saying, we are passionate about our Southern football.
Right.
So we'll take other schools in the South, like you mentioned, Clemson, FSU, and Miami. I think they look at California and they're like, that's not part of our identity.
Not the same vibe.
Right.
Yeah. I see that.
And their whole conference, I know Sankey says, contiguous states. Every state that has a school touches another state with a school. So that's something. And that's how it should be. This is, Mike, with your West Coast, East Coast. I mean, listen, these are student athletes.
Yeah.
What about finals, Mike?
I know. Now this week, Perloff wants to talk about finals.
Student athletes.
Let's go to Landon, who's in Savannah, Georgia, wants to talk about SEC expansion. Hi, Landon. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I think we're not really expanding. It's more consolidation of powers. Right. I think things will stabilize for the next 10 years till the ACC becomes rateable.
Yep.
And you'll see both conferences do that. And I think, probably 20 years down the road or so from that, someone's going to come in with some entity, whether it be a network, whether it be, God forbid, one of those public investment funds, and offer $5 billion or whatever for a conference in a college football playoff that includes the 24 powers. And everybody else who thinks they're safe, I believe, is going to be left, trying to put these regional conferences back together when they're left in the cold down the road.
Landon, it's a smart call. Thank you for making it. I'm right there with you on whether the, sovereign funds, whether it's the Saudis or something down the line, could want to buy into college football. I've always maintained that. It doesn't seem like they're into that now, but just wait. Because I think to your point, to Landon's point, college football is going to look a lot different. And I don't know if it's going to take 10 years, but a lot different.
Yeah, it could. I don't really understand it all. I understand the J.P. Morgan. I listened to a big thing about J.P. Morgan buying into Florida State. That is not even close to being approved by everybody yet. So that might not happen. Why does Florida State need J.P. Morgan to fund their football program? I don't understand the economics of this at all.
Well, I think it's about them getting cash flow, and I think it's about J.P. Morgan looking at an investment.
Right. Why do they need cash flow? You could explain it to me, but it's, Florida State University. Are they that desperate for cash flow?
I mean, I may be shooting from the hip, but I mean, if they are trying to buy out of their deal with ACC and ESPN, because that's the whole reason why they can't leave.
That would explain it.
It's going to
so
cost
if you get
money.
that money, then you can use that for
but they can't right now. There's not like a dollar figure where they can buy out of this, right?
I don't know. I have to look that up. I don't know if there is a dollar figure.
I think they can. I mean, that's the whole issue, is that if they wanted to leave, they'd have to buy out of the contract. So if they can get some money from anywhere, I think that they would take it at this point. Because FSU's they've had issues of late of funding, of facilities, like the new coach, he's come in and they've kind of boosted that, and which is why they played really well last year. But that has been a problem over the last few years.
Got it. That makes more sense.
Also, who's turning down money? I mean, look what happened to ESPN yesterday. Like, sports books, buying into, TV networks. Like, no one's turning down money. Donovan is in Oregon. Wants to go back to our great debate series, which is greatest flash in the pan of all time. Hey, Donovan, how are you?
Hi, doing great. Maybe not of all time, but I have one for each of you.
Okay, go ahead.
Buffalo Sabres goalie Ryan Miller.
Oh, yes. Yes. I think he applies.
Once Sidney Crosby scored on him in the Olympic gold medal match, completely fell off the map.
Yeah, man.
And then for Perloff, A.J. Feely.
Hey, he was a flash enough to get the Eagles a second-round pick, so I will take that flash in the pan.
Exactly. Comes in after Donovan and Detmer and basically kept us afloat. He was like a life raft.
I love that you said us there, by the way. A.J. Feely is my greatest example. I always say Andy Reid can turn anybody into a Pro Bowl level quarterback, and A.J. Feely is the first guy I always say because he was no one. And then Andy Reid got a hold of him, and boom, star.
Donovan, thank you so much. Yes, go ahead.
Hasn't paid for a meal in Philly since.
Yep.
AJ or Andy?
Both.
Yeah. Well, the bill's going to be a little different with one than the other. I'm sorry. I had to point it out.
Trivia, who was A.J. Feely's, and help me out here, I believe he was married. Yes, he was married to a U.S. soccer player, too. Her name was Heather Mills. And I remember because, obviously, Zach Ertz, another Eagle, was married to Julie Ertz. So
she just retired, by the way, from international competition, Julie.
The Eagles players, I guess, like to marry soccer players. That's nice.
That's what you got from that?
Yeah, I remember A.J. Feely and Heather Mills were the big it couple that one year in Philadelphia. So he's a flash in the pan in many ways.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, you're welcome to weigh in. More flashes in the pan, sports flashes in the pan, and a lot more coming your way, including which university is creating the best quarterbacks? Got a thought on that. We'll give it to you next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is sponsored by the United States Postal Service, introducing USPS Ground Advantage, reliable and affordable 2 to 5 day package shipping. United States Postal Service. All right, we've been talking about SEC expansion. Maggie, I'm worried that there will be one coach who will not be around to see it.
Who's that?
Nick Saban, 1 foot out the door, just bought his retirement home in Jupiter, Florida. Maggie, it's over. It's over. $17 million, Jupiter Island. I don't know when he bought it, sometime this offseason. $17.5 million. He's now neighbors with Tiger Woods and all these professional golfers. Why would you buy a house in Miami if you were the Alabama coach, unless you're starting to look at maybe the next phase?
He's 71. I mean, he should be buying a retirement home. It's not like he's 48. It's like, geez, guys, I think he's got 1 foot out the door. He's 71. He might want to think about having 2 feet out the door. I mean, listen, I'm not going to bet against Nick Saban, but at some point, him, Belichick, I mean, I know like guys like Bobby Bowden and who am I thinking about from Penn State? Paterno, Joe Paterno, like these guys were around forever, but you don't have to do that. No one says you have to coach until you're 85.
Yeah, but it's Nick Saban.
You said it yourself, $17.5 million beach house. What are you you're going to buy something like that so you can spend 2 weeks in it, in between recruiting cycles?
I know, but you say like 71, like he should retire. I mean, I've seen him yelling at reporters who are asking about the quarterback competition. He seems like he's in vintage form. I don't want him buying this retirement home. He's got to win another title.
Too late. He went to Italy. He's buying retirement homes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's over.
It's almost like he's not fighting back against Jimbo Fisher this offseason. Well, neither of them are fighting. I want to see an ornery, hungry Nick Saban. I don't want to see him buying a retirement home. This is weak.
I'm going to tell you, though, when I think about like 71, and I know 71 isn't old, I know that, but I'm looking at pictures of this $17.5 million retirement home, and this looks like someone would live here who just created like Girls Gone Wild or something. I don't know. So just like,
oh my God,
this looks like a house where, I don't know. This looks like a party house. Let me call it what it is. This looks like a party house where you're throwing wild, raging parties. This doesn't look like your quiet retirement home on the golf course here. It's like right on the water. It looks very Miami, very Scarface kind of like.
The first thing I thought of was Cliff Kingsbury singing in his bachelor pad during the draft a few years ago.
It's very modern, very sleek. This is not a place I envision grandparents living.
It's where they're going to film Project X2.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't it look like that?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like I'm walking in. It's like, who's got some home-baked cookies for the grandkids? This is not that kind of house.
I mean, he does talk about his grandma's baking a lot, so maybe there's that.
Yeah. The carrot cake somehow equates to the three-way quarterback competition that we're still waiting on. All right. We've been talking about the SEC. We've also been talking about our great debate series, Greatest Sports Flashes in the Pan. I said Jeremy Lin, Perloff.
Buster Douglas for beating Mike Tyson.
How about Wayne in New Jersey has got a thought. Hello, Wayne. How are you?
How you guys doing, all right?
Excellent. How are you doing?
Good. I'm a Yankee fan, so I got 4 flashes in the pan.
Oh, wow.
I think it was the Yankee rookies in 2016. Greg Bird,
yes.
Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar, and Gary Sanchez.
Man, those are good, Wayne. It's like the whole baby bombers there, although I don't...
Well, Sanchez is still playing, but the other guys are you never hear of them again. So
that's true. Those are good ones.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Wayne. Yeah, Greg Bird, if you're Yankee fans out there, they were in love with Greg Bird. Lefty, first baseman.
Can I give you a little Shane Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, Shane Spencer's a classic one. Then Luke Voigt became the next Shane Spencer. Let's go to Sean in Oregon's got a real good one. Hey, Sean, how are you?
Not bad. You know, I hear about this flash in the pan, and we're not talking about busts or people that got lucky. You know, some of these guys you talk about sounds like, you know, they were busts. Some got lucky to get a chance. But the guy that, you know, really flashed, and he was in the pan for a while, was Bo Jackson.
Yep.
You can't talk about somebody that played for a year, a couple days, and quit. You know, I mean, people got to get hurt to be a flash in the pan. You know, we can't have these guys just fade out. There ain't no better flash in the pan than Bo Jackson. We all wanted to see more of that.
Sean, you're right. See, Perloff and I weren't sure, though, about guys who have, like, these catastrophic injuries. Does that count them for flash in the pan? That's, like, a little sadder, you know? It's like, it's by no...
That's how you got to be flash in the pan. You can't be a guy that just wanted to be like the guy for the Knicks. That guy wasn't good enough to be in the NBA. They tried to make him a star. He wasn't there. And the other guy you guys talk about, Buster Douglas, I mean, come on. He got lucky. Mike got caught sleeping that day.
Yeah, but, you know, he got an all-time great moment. Sean, thank you so much for the phone call, because we had a caller called in before about Sam Bowie, and it's like, is that just a little bit more of a disappointment / injury? Like, Bo getting hurt is, like, tragic because we got robbed of seeing what he could have been.
Yeah, and it was a little bit longer than just a flash because obviously he was a superstar at Auburn.
Sure.
I think we had 4 or 5 years of Bo, if I had to guess. I understand what he's saying because Bo shined more brilliant than anybody. But, yeah, I mean, I understand what he's saying about Buster Douglas. Yeah, of course he wasn't. You know, he wasn't the next coming of Muhammad Ali, but it was still a great month.
I saw a little Brian Bosworth in the chat.
I guess so. He never really did anything in the pros. Good movie career, though.
The Buzz, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. See, I think we were kind of talking, since it was inspired a bit by Johnny Manziel, because he's got a new documentary out about his life, we were thinking about guys who just did sort of fizzle out, right? Yeah. Or just sort of had the high highs, but then we never really got anywhere close to that again. Yeah,
well, we're in we're approaching Little League World Series territory. How about Danny Almonte?
Yeah, I was thinking about him.
Yeah, that was a big flash in the pan.
Was he he was 14, he was supposed to be 12, or he was 16, he was supposed to be 14?
It was 14, I think 14 to 12.
14 supposed to be 12, yeah.
It's a very good 30 for 30 on him as
Great
well.
30 for 30. See, I felt bad for him, though, because those were the adults around him that were doing all that, you know? Like Johnny Manziel, even though he was a young man, and I can appreciate that he was young and immature, he's still, you know.
Yeah.
It was still his own downfall. It was his own undoing.
I was curious. Maybe
Danny Almonte was a poor kid.
Baseball seems to have a lot of guys who come up as rookies and just are awesome, and then they fall off. Ack might be able to think of some. I was thinking Ellie De La Cruz seems like a future possible. Who's that super tall guy on the Pirates who was O'Neill, or I think
O'Neill Cruz,
yeah. I feel like
he's still around. We're not done with
but the guys who come out then the pitchers find the holes in their swing and then they sort of disappear. Yes, I remember a long time ago. Remember Ken Urbick hit a home run in his first 15 games in the pro? He was a giant rookie for the Twins.
He had a good career, though.
Yeah, he was okay. Give me a guy. Who's a guy who was just a great rookie in baseball and then just didn't do it?
Kevin Moss came to mind.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, it's funny because Wayne just called from New Jersey with some other Yankees players who were flashes in the pan. Shane Spencer we talked about.
You got Dontrelle Willis from the Marlins.
Yeah. I mean, he put it together a few years, but...
let's go to Carrie, who's in Oregon. Hey, Carrie, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. I just want to kind of get back on that guy who called from, was it Portland or something?
earlier. He said Sam Bowie, and I was just going to tell him it's still too soon.
Aw.
That's rough.
Not over it, huh, Carrie? Well,
not a little.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, and thank you so much for the call. At least the Trailblazers have learned their lesson, obviously, with what they did in the draft this year. They took Scoot Henderson anyway. Even though he's redundant with Dame, you can never do that again. And obviously, the Hornets kind of helped them out.
Well, yeah, they didn't have a choice.
I know.
But they were handed Scoot Henderson.
So you got to take them.
I can't give them, and I can't give them credit for that.
I will give them.
What were they going to do? Trade out?
They could have traded out. They could have taken somebody else. I don't know, but that was the whole thing about Jordan being redundant with Clyde Drexler. They couldn't do that again, and they didn't do that again.
It's also a different time, though.
Yes, it is.
You know, that was
more positional-less.
Yeah, and look, Sam Bowie had injury problem, but he was a great college player and had great moments in the NBA when he wasn't hurt.
Yeah,
but he was hurt. That was the problem.
It was the injuries.
By the way, flash in the pan baseball. Do we have to talk about Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor? And they're always sort of talked about together.
Pryor.
Yeah, more so Pryor had probably one great year.
Yeah.
And
But
Kerry,
they both hung around for a while, though, didn't they?
did Pryor really hang around though?
Yeah, I think he only pitched. He didn't pitch more than 5 seasons.
And he was the chosen one, right? I mean, he was it.
I think he's a pitching coach now, isn't
Yes,
he?
he is.
Yeah.
I believe for the Cubs. Oh no, the Dodgers.
No, yeah.
5 years he pitched, and he had 9. He made 9 appearances in 2006. So that was it. Also, Generation K, if you're a Mets fan.
Yeah, well, that
Bill
was
Pulsifer and Paul Wilson and Jason
Isringhausen.
Paul Wilson, who we pulled the fight clip from with Kyle Farnsworth the other day. There you go.
Same guy. Heck of a fight. Farnsworth really got him. Quickly, Rob's in Tucson's got another flash in the pan. Hello, Rob. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, guys? I'm in 1967, so yep, I'm old. And Billy Rohr, opening day, no-hit the Yankees from 8 2/3 to Elston Howard, blooped one in.
Okay.
Didn't hear much from him after that.
Bill
1967, you said?
Yeah.
There you go, Rob. Thank you. Perloff, you asked for great rookie debuts.
Look
you
at
got
this guy. Bill Rohr, his career record was 3-3. 21 strikeouts in his entire career. That is a good one. That is a flash. I can't believe this guy almost had a no-hitter and only had 21 strikeouts in his entire Major League Baseball career.
Is that a flash or is that like a flicker in the pan?
Well, here's the thing. Apparently, in 1968, he moved from Boston to Cleveland, made 17 starts, and only won 1 game. I guess he must have been relief at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I got one for you. How about Carl Tuffy Rhodes?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Runs opening day.
On opening day
That's a
against
good
Dwight
one.
Gooden, and then by next year he was in Japan.
That's a great one.
One more from football. I don't know if we mentioned it on the air. I feel like we may have said something off the air, but Scott Mitchell came in relief of Dan Marino for the Dolphins, then got a big contract for the Lions, had 32 touchdowns and 12 picks his second year with the Lions. After that, nothing. 17 touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, and then disappeared.
That's because his offensive coordinator took off and Coach Peyton Manning, I think. At some point, he was a Tom Moore disciple. System guy, just saying.
There was also a little Derek Anderson, who obviously, had a real high with the Browns, 10 wins, and then didn't do a lot after that.
Yeah, Derek Anderson, tallest.
Was Matt Flynn a fashion?
Matt Flynn, 1 game, not really.
He got a big contract off of that from Seahawks, and then obviously Russell Wilson, won the job in training camp.
There was a meaningless game where he got all those yards, though, right? So I don't know if he ever really had flash. Not like Bill Rohr.
Nobody's like Bill Rohr.
Like
Hostetler. I mean, that's a major one because he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he was a backup who happened to get
That's like saying
in.
Nick Foles at a flash.
I don't see that.
But history, we might remember Nick Foles as a flash, even though he was a starter in other places.
Nick Foles with Chip Kelly had 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in a season, which still is the NFL record for touchdowns.
Did he have 7 in 1 game that year? Or 6
7 in 1 game against the Raiders.
And they went to the Rams and did nothing. And then came back.
Yeah, no, listen. It was Chicago. Nick Foles is definitely a journeyman. But it's for Hostetler, I don't feel like Hostetler was good sometimes in his career, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was a good player. And he was a star in college. I
don't know, but I like where EJ's head's at, though, because
guys who came in,
backup quarterback wins the Super Bowl. I mean, to everyone, that's a flash in the pan.
But he started he won the job over Sims
the next year.
I don't think it was the next year, but I think maybe it was the next year because there was a coaching change.
And then Sims won it back.
Yeah, and then
I think Hostetler got hurt actually.
I don't know if he got hurt, but he eventually went to the
Sims won it
Raiders,
back.
and he had a couple of good years with them too.
51-32 in his career, not bad. But, yeah, you're right. He obviously had one huge moment.
Well, that's what we were wondering about David Tyree. That's not really a flash in the pan. That's just like a moment. That's literally one moment. 855-212, yes.
He's the Billy Rohr of football, David Tyree.
We always said that about David Tyree. 855-212-4CBS. Keep them coming. Greatest flash in the pan of all time. That's our great debate series for today. We will get to the one school's churning out the greatest quarterbacks from the greatest college program that's churning out the greatest quarterbacks for the pros. So we'll get to that in just a moment as well. After this CBS Sports Update, here's Rich.
Sports Flash.
A former Alabama star and Raiders receiver Henry Ruggs was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison for his role in a fatal drunk driving accident in 2021. He had agreed to a plea deal back in May. Ruggs had reached a speed of 156 miles an hour just before the crash that killed a 23-year-old woman and her dog. He had in his system, he tested for twice the legal limit of alcohol. Baseball action this afternoon, and the Reds fall to the Marlins by a score of 5-4. So Miami now in the last wild card spot, overtaking Cincinnati as Josh Bell homered twice in the victory. Brian De La Cruz with his 16th for Miami in that one. Top of the ninth, Colorado and Milwaukee are even at 5, and bottom of the fourth, Oakland trying to avoid a sweep against the Rangers, who have won 8 in a row, currently lead the Rangers by a score of 1-0. The Orioles let one get away last night after jumping out to an early lead over against Framber Valdez. They'll try to regroup tonight after seeing their 4-game winning streak as Jack Flaherty makes his second start for the Orioles against Christian Javier. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
Don't worry, fam.
Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So much to do. Perloff has a problem with, was it ESPN said that the greatest college, well, you can tell everybody.
Yeah, so they broke down by position which college produces the best at certain positions. So quarterback U, wide receiver U, et cetera, et cetera. And do we want to get in this now or do we want to? But there's one that I don't understand.
We'll say.
Why Ohio State is wide receiver U. And there's no question about it. They put USC 1 and I believe Ohio State 2 for this year's ranking. But Ohio State is now like the place. They have all sorts of, look at I'm going back to, when's the list start? 1998. I was looking at some of the receivers that went there. Remember, Santonio Holmes was a Ohio State guy. Anthony Gonzalez, who went on to become a congressman, who fought off people on January 6th.
Oh, my God.
He was Ohio State. David Boston, 1998, Ohio State. But recently, they had a room that was so good, Jamison Williams had to leave Ohio State to go to Alabama because they had Chris Olave and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then this year, they have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka. That's probably the number 2 pick and the number 7 pick in this year's draft. It's incredible how they're producing this position because it's not even a warm weather place, and this is nothing but superstars, one after another.
Yeah, but I mean, can you really argue with USC though? I mean, I can just give you Amon-Ra St. Brown. I can give you Michael Pittman. I can give you. I know you don't love Nelson Aguilar, but you know he's
good,
our pal.
But he's not Garrett Wilson.
Mike Williams. I mean, I can keep going here. Can we?
Which Mike Williams?
The Mike Williams who, besides, I didn't even get to Keyshawn Johnson. Ever heard of him? Mike Williams was on the 2004 championship team, wasn't he? Yes.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything in the pros.
I know, but you were talking about guys who are great in college.
No,
them
I'm talking
going
about
on to the pros is only one part of it.
But these guys in Ohio State are killing it in the pros.
But
where
it's all
the guys,
really recent.
Yeah. Because there's a Mike Williams out of Clemson who is still good with the Chargers, right? So that's what. And Mike Williams was a huge bust, the USC one. Michael Thomas, I didn't even mention him. Can't guard Mike.
I can give you a Robert Woods then from USC.
You're talking about mid-round guys. Ohio State is a star machine, and
Steve Smith, I didn't even give you. Yes.
The other Steve Smith.
The other one, okay.
You have the inferior wide receiver with two names.
Juju Smith-Schuster. There's no other Juju.
I don't know. It feels like at the end of this year, it's going to be Ohio State by far. Because Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, he should be in the draft right now.
Going back in time, but didn't Lynn Swann play at USC?
No, it started in 98.
Oh, 98.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I think Ohio State, Brian Hartline is now their offensive coordinator. He seems like he's an incredible wide receiver coach. And I'm coming off Hard Knocks where Garrett Wilson is just the most likable player in the NFL.
Absolutely.
When we had him on the show, I mean, you liked him, right? Last night,
definitely.
I fell in love with him all over again. But
did I miss it? Did you mention Scary Terry McLaurin?
Scary Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin.
I mean, how good is Olave anyway?
Santonio Holmes?
He mentioned
David Boston, who might have gotten some chemical help, might not have.
That Brady Anderson situation.
He was the only wide receiver that could bench press an offensive lineman. That guy was a monster.
That was the dead giveaway. As Perloff says, you don't want to get 100 on the test. If you're going to cheat, get a 98.
David Boston, very much a flash in the pan, I might say.
Oh, you know what? He might be a good
He had like a 1,600-yard season. I don't think he had a lot of other seasons, but you have to check that.
So speaking of flashes of the pan, that is our great debate for this week. We're going to continue our great debate series that was so popular from the summer and so awesome. Because of you guys. You guys have really helped. The Weedos, the Purple Drinkers in the chat, the callers. You guys have really grabbed onto these things. So we're going to continue it through the football season. So today we're doing greatest flashes in the pan, sports flashes in the pan. I said Linsanity, Jeremy Lin. Perloff went in the direction of boxing.
Buster Douglas.
Yeah. Let's go to the phones. Joe is in Ohio. He's got two for us. Hello, Joe.
How you doing? I thought I used to live in Green Bay, so I was thinking in Matt Flynn, and that was over before it started thanks to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, we just mentioned Matt Flynn in the last segment too. I think it qualifies as a flash in the pan because he got paid, and then Russ took care of the rest.
The other one was for coaching for us, since I teach at Youngstown State University, was Bo Pelini out in Nebraska, then came to Youngstown State and just sort of fizzled away.
Yeah, and fizzled away. That's a good one. You know, I saw you had Bo Pelini, Joe, on the list or on the call screener, and I was thinking from Nebraska, it was just more of a disappointment, right?
If you think you're in flash in the pan for coaches, how about Larry Coker at Miami and Gene Chizik at Auburn?
Oh, Gene Chizik is a good one.
Yeah, they're like they're a little bit. What's that guy who is?
I got one for you.
Bill Seifert. They're like they followed up. They basically inherited George Seifert. They inherited great teams and won titles.
Wait, but okay, what's it? Mark Chudzinski. Sorry, I had to get to the depths of my mind on that one. Browns coach. Remember, he came from Canada. I think he came from the Canadian Football League.
Do you have the right first name? Rob Chudzinski.
I might not have the right first name.
I think it was Rob.
Was it Rob Chudzinski?
Yeah.
All right, partial credit, guys. I mean, he coached the Browns for a season.
But I don't know,
we just knew him as Chud.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought Coach
But
Chud.
remember, he was like this offensive. This is not like a Freddie Kitchens thing. Like Freddie Kitchens, that was just like a bad hire, flamed out. Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, but
that was just disappointing.
The problem for Chud was he only had 1 year as a head coach. He went 4-12. So his flash in the pan was as being a hot, OC kind of thing, and then just never panned out.
Matt Nagy.
Yeah,
coach of the year.
Yeah.
How about Todd Haley, maybe?
Anybody who wins coach of the year in the NBA, they all get fired.
It's a kiss of death. Yeah, you don't want to be anywhere near that award. Michael is in Ohio. Has got another one for us. Hey, Michael.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
What's up?
Real quick before I get to my flash in the pan, Maggie, I usually 99% of the time agree with you, but Perloff is so right about the Ohio State receivers.
Yeah, baby.
He's kind of killing me on that one, huh?
It's hurting me, but he's killing you. We got a lot of guys, too, that, we got guys like Curtis Samuel and Paris Campbell, some guys that are just underneath the radar, but are still making, a lot of contributions to their team. But right now, and there's going to be a guy, I want you guys to Watch this year. He's a true freshman. His name is
Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes. Oh,
Yep,
Michael.
they are going to light it up.
They're insane. I was just looking at a picture of them in camp. Oh, it's on.
Okay, but so for USC, then I could counter with a Jordan Addison. I mean, he hasn't played in a game yet.
One meaningless year at USC? Who cares?
I'm just saying, if he goes on to be a great pro, he's probably going to
from Pitt. He played 4 years there.
Okay, well, now everybody plays 2 places. So, and some quarterbacks play 3.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
and then
are you going to say Jalen Hurts is he a great Alabama quarterback or a great Oklahoma quarterback?
Yes.
That's true.
What else you got, Michael?
Oh, my flash in the pan, I'm going to stay with the wide receivers. How about Josh Gordon?
The best.
Yeah.
That's such a good one, dude.
Michael.
Yeah, I like that one.
Thank you so much. And it sucks, though, because, obviously it's, he's had some drug issues with drugs and alcohol and things like that. But I think Josh Gordon is still kind of hanging around a little, isn't he?
He can't.
Is it finally over?
Last year.
Right. I think he's hanging around.
Oh, man.
1,600 yards in 2013. No other season over 800.
Yeah, that's a great flash in the pan. He was amazing. By the way, and he fell asleep in a Taco Bell drive-in in college. One of the great scandals.
Jeez. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. Got a quarterback flash in the pan for you when we come back, and so much more. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The idea about eating a bowl of Skyline chili, pie eating contest style with like your hands behind your back, that is just going to be an awful look. And that's going to live on the internet for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I'm kind of hoping I lose. And you know when a baby eats spaghetti and the spaghetti sauce gets all over it? I'm just picturing that.
Yes.
Kids just like eat naked mostly for like the first several years of their life.
Yes.
I have all these pictures of my two girls when they were young. It looks like they were just like bleeding from everywhere. It was just tomato sauce over their entire upper half.
It looks like a horror show.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, and you hanging out. Boy, has this taken off like wildfire, our great debate series. Greatest flash in the pan of all time, and we have gotten some amazing entries from the callers, from the Weekdays in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, if you'd like to watch the show. Now, I went with Jeremy Lin. Perloff?
I went with Buster Douglas, which is not making any traction here. I'm reading the chat with different nominations and rules about this.
Yeah.
Buster, I don't know. Would people not think Buster Douglas was as big a flash in the pan?
I think it's the definition of a flash in the pan. I like Linsanity better, though, because Linsanity, while Buster Douglas, that was shocking for sure. Linsanity was able to at least sustain it for about a month and then did play in the NBA after that, even though never to the heights of what he did in that very special month with the Knicks. But he like became a cultural kind of icon, you know, partly because he's Taiwanese American, but also because of his great story. Buster Douglas also had a very good story, but I don't know if he's remembered like Jeremy Lin is remembered. I don't know.
No, and Jeremy Lin, though, I think some people thought it was kind of ridiculous, including Carmelo Anthony, that he should not have gotten nearly as much attention as he did.
Yes.
I mean, if Jeremy Lin, that happens in Indiana, it is not getting 2 covers of Sports Illustrated. He was at the mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden, so he did it on the biggest stage. But still, when you look back on it, it's like, wait, what was that all about? It happened so fast. That's what you mean by flash in the pan. You're like, you barely remember it.
It's crazy. Mike in California, obviously, not only weighing in on this, but does the recipes for the Weedo recipe book that is now started. Ooh. You can check that out on Facebook under our unofficial Facebook page, The Perloffs. I just gave you a ton of information there. Mike Glennon, but also RG3.
Where's Glennon's flash?
I think, to me, Glennon is a journeyman. That's like backup journeyman. But RG3 is a flash in the pan.
Good flash in the pan. But that was the fault of the turf in Washington. In my opinion, like he wouldn't have been a flash in the pan if they. I mean, the guy won the Heisman into the Rookie of the Year, but then he blew up his knee.
I know. See, I think because he had success in college, opposite the Heisman, and did have success in the NFL with the Rookie of the Year, is that too much success to be considered a flash in the pan, EJ?
I almost feel like nowadays with modern medicine, we've seen a lot of players come back from ACL injuries. I know he was a guy who was very athletic and he used his legs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Joe Burrow had a gruesome leg injury at the beginning of his career, and he's come back and he's the Iceman.
Got to be honest, I have never understood why Robert Griffin III was not good again. It never made any sense to me whatsoever. Even when he was a backup with the Ravens, he looked like he had all the skills to be a superstar. How come he never got back to being a regular starter
Remember,
again?
one of the problems, though, was that when he came back, he didn't want to run anymore. And there was a whole issue with him and Kyle Shanahan, and they didn't get along, and he wanted to be a pocket passer, and Kyle Shanahan saying, well, we need to use your legs. That's your skill set.
Right.
And that ended up being a big part of why he didn't work out.
And he was going to dinner with the owner, and he was separate from his teammates, and it was all that
Crazy drama.
A lot of mess in Washington. But even so, he got to Baltimore and was sitting behind Lamar, and he would get in games and look pretty good to me. It just struck me as weird that nobody wanted him as a starter again, but they really didn't.
Man, how much could history have repeated itself if Trey Lance had, if Brock Purdy never happens? Is Kyle Shanahan having any kind of similar conversations with Trey Lance? Because Trey Lance is much bigger than RG3, taller and bigger, but a running quarterback who's now gotten hurt a couple times. I mean, I think Lance has still got to use his legs. He's, by the way, he and Darnold, just a little update, are both listed as quarterback 2. This is the new thing now. Instead of just having a depth chart, because we can't make anything easy in our life, you have one quarterback or the other quarterback.
Well, I think Trey Lance will get in there, and he's going to run.
He has to run,
needs
right?
a job. Also, he's twice the size of RG3. RG3 was small. I think relatively small. Trey Lance is huge. I think he's going to be desperate. Desperate quarterbacks, young, desperate quarterbacks run. You know who I want to see? Anthony Richardson's going to run like crazy in Indianapolis.
I hope he stays healthy.
13 starts in college. He doesn't know how to play quarterback yet, so he's just going to go out there and run, and we've got to see what happens.
You know what's so funny? It's reminded me of Hard Knocks from last night, if anyone watched the episode, with Dorian Thompson-Robinson from UCLA. And he's playing for the Browns in the Hall of Fame game. And basically the entire Hard Knocks episode, if you haven't seen it, I'll save it for you. It's just Aaron Rodgers is the middle of the football universe. He is the sun, and everything is revolving around him. And he actually talks to DTR before the game and says to him, hey, man, don't be afraid to use your legs out there. And then Robinson ends up having this great run and in the game. And, of course, Rodgers is on the sidelines smirking like I told you so.
Yeah. He was on, wasn't he mic'd up for when that happened with the network? He said, oh, yeah, I mentored that guy.
Yeah.
Is that what he was talking
He's like
about?
West Coast guy, you know.
Oh, get out of here.
Rodgers taking credit for everything. He's good. If Zach Wilson goes on to have any type of success in this league, it's going to his story will be the Aaron Rodgers story.
No, Aaron Rodgers, if Zach Wilson somehow wins an MVP, Aaron Rodgers is going to count it as one of his MVPs.
It's so good. 855-212-4CBS. Okay, let's talk about flashes of the pan. Had another good one from the chat. Two quarterbacks. Brock Osweiler. That's a good one.
How bright was that flash, though?
Was he ever good?
Yeah, I was about to say. He lost his job to basically left-handed throwing Peyton Manning.
Frankenstein Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Been cobbled together.
I mean, he was okay, and I understand they won a Super Bowl that year. So it was a mini flash. I like it.
I got another one also. I'm sure you're going through the Weirdos. Josh Freeman, 17th overall pick in the draft, went to the Bucs. He had a season 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 picks. Another year with 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 17 picks, and nothing else. That was it. And then he went to Minnesota. He went to Indianapolis. He got traded midseason and was done by 27 years old. Never saw him again. Josh Freeman.
Where is that guy?
I mean, there was talk about the Bucs winning a Super Bowl the year after Freeman had that first breakout season.
You know, you're right about that. Who was the coach of the Bucs at that time? Was it
Josh Freeman era? What year are we talking about?
Was it Shiano?
That was Raheem Morris.
Oh, Raheem Morris. Well, he's still coaching, obviously, but he became like a head coach flash in the pan.
He took over for Gruden.
Wade in the chat, 2017 Blake Bortles.
Yes.
But he was a top pick, but just had that 1 year. And honestly, they should have won that AFC Championship game. Yep. They lost to the Patriots. 855-212-4CBS. 855-212-4227. Let's go to Joe. He's in Oregon. He's got a flash of the pan for us. Joe, what's up? Joe.
Hello?
Hello, Joe. How you doing?
Joe. Oh, I said Paul, but...
Oh, hi, Paul.
But either way...
How's it going?
I've called in as Joe, too. So, anyway, so this is one of the greatest players in college basketball history, and he flashed very brightly twice in the NBA, and then never flashed again.
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Tell us.
Bill Walton.
Bill Walton.
So
yeah,
he was really great. So maybe that doesn't define a flash, but 1 year great, 1 year great, and that was it.
But he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. He was an MVP, six-man. I don't know, Joe. Paul?
It was all about those 2 years, though.
Yeah.
When else did he? You know, he had.
Well, it was the injuries, right? His feet.
Yep.
What happened? Paul, thank you for the phone call. Bill Walton is a flash in the pan.
No,
he's too accomplished, right?
Well, that year, was it 76, 77 when they beat the Sixers? That had a flash in the pan field because he did that. Then you think, oh, he's about to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and dominate the league, but he was hurt. I've actually watched a lot of highlights of that particular series as a Sixers fan. Bill Walton was so good before his injury. I think he's one of the most underrated players ever. Because we think of him as a personality and not the great player.
Right, because he became such a big personality broadcaster.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, do we properly rate Bill Walton? I
was
think we
shocked.
kind of do.
I'm shocked every time I watch him. I'm like, oh my God, that guy is so good. I don't think people know.
I feel like Walton is kind of polarizing.
Also, Walton, people remember short shorts Bill Walton in 1986 Celtics, which was not the same thing.
Well, wasn't he Sixth Man of the Year that year?
Yeah, but I mean, he looked weird. He used to be like a fluid, smooth running big man, and that was nothing like that 10 years later.
What's polarizing about Walton?
Well, I think some people think he's underrated, but there are a lot of people who also think he's overrated.
Yeah.
Like, he was named to the top 50 players of all time before the recent 75, and a lot of people were like, this is off of one season, basically. Like, if you look at his career numbers, like, there's a few good seasons. His numbers are good, but there are a lot of players that have much better numbers than Bill Russell and have won championships and didn't get the praise of being top 50 or top 75. Like, it's very weird. It's very interesting because there are a lot of people say, well, he would have been this. And then on the flip side, say, well, this is what he accomplished.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you're coming off of, an incredible college career. It just sort of goes right into it.
By the way, there's somebody put Carson Wentz in the chat. What's up with that?
That was for you specifically. By the way, your little Carson's Corner over there. What happened?
You said I couldn't have it.
No, I said you can't have a Carson's Corner with any Carson Wentz stuff. You wanted to create a different Carson's Corner with all other Carsons. Johnny Carson, Carson Daly. I don't see anything.
I'm telling you, I said it before and I'll say it again. That picture of Carson Wentz with all the different uniforms, that's Carson's Monsters. That still fits in Carson's Corner.
It does not. We'll get 1,000 new YouTube subscribers and I'll destroy that one too.
Carson's Monster, like Frankenstein's Monster?
Yeah, it's not Frankenstein's Monster.
855-212-4227. Mark's in Ohio's got a couple for us that I like here. Hey, Mark, how are you? Hey.
Maurice Clarett broke a college football record.
It's a good one. I like Maurice Clarett as a flash in the pan. I mean, he should have won that court case, by the way, that let him go to the NFL sooner, and it got very derailed by that whole situation, but Maurice Clarett certainly qualifies. Who else you got?
Another off-the-field issue with Colin Kaepernick.
Kaepernick as a flash in the pan. Mark, that's interesting. Thank you so much for the phone call.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Made it to a Super Bowl.
I just pulled up. He had a few good seasons, though.
That's what I think. I think Kaepernick had too many good seasons to qualify as flash in the pan.
I mean, honestly, the Kaepernick story, there's so much with the kneeling and everything, but his massive shoulder injury was also a big part of this story. So I think injuries played a big part in why he didn't keep developing under Harbaugh. Also, there was all sorts of front office drama.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
A couple bad coaching hires after that.
By the way, Maurice Clarett is one of my early favorite internet memes. Was Maurice? Have you guys ever seen the Maurice Clarett is running the 40, and somehow they superimpose an old woman is walking by on a walker and beating him in the 40? So, flash of the plan, but he was not ready for the NFL.
Let's go to Ian's, also in Oregon. Ian, how are you?
Great. How are you guys doing?
Excellent. Who's your flash in the pan?
Well, I got Heisman Trophy winner Danny Werfel.
Man, that's a good one. That is a good one.
I think he played a handful of games in the NFL, but, yeah, he was pretty great in that Spurrier years, I believe. But, yeah, and then baseball, I don't know. This one's been said. Mark Bert Fidrich.
Yeah, we've had a couple of those.
Okay.
Ian, thank you. Danny Werfel we had not had yet. Danny Werfel has been a guest on the show before. The pro career was unremarkable. So I do think that qualifies.
But he came out of everyone kind of knew that system. That was Spurrier, right? I don't think Werfel had those expectations. What do you do with all the sort of, what's the guy from Oklahoma, Josh White? And there's all sorts of Heisman Trophy winners, Jason White, sorry, Heisman Trophy winners who were great in college in their certain system, but did not translate. Are those flashes in the pan?
Yeah, that's a good point, because Werfel was a 4th-round pick. So it's like, is Stetson Bennett going to be,
no,
someone like that?
Josh Heupel himself, who is creating other flashes in the pan. Yeah, pretty much any Mike Leach quarterback, Graham Harrell, those guys were all sort of flashes in the pan. I think you could argue.
Yeah, Werfel kind of he does sort of fit the bill to me, but you're right. Now with a 4th-round draft pick, your expectations are not that high. Do you need to have high but if you're a Heisman winner.
Tebow is more because he sort of was so brilliant when he got to the pros in Denver, made the playoffs, won the playoff game. He was such a superstar, and then boof, gone, never started again.
Yeah.
I remember there was a lot of expectation with Werfel. At the end of his career, he joined Steve Spurrier in Washington, and everyone thought that he was going to get this explosive Spurrier-Gators-Werfel connection.
Yep.
And he threw 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, the whole Spurrier and DC thing did not work. There's a common theme here. We've had a few things that go and don't end well in DC. RG3, now Danny Werfel. It's where Heisman Trophy winners go to.
Let's not lump Danny Werfel into that conversation.
I'm just saying, they just happen to have that in common. Okay, see you guys on the phones. These are all awesome. We're going to get to them. Greatest flashes in the pan. Got so much more to do. Our thoughts on Hard Knocks, what we liked, what we didn't like from last night's Aaron Rodgers Love Fest. So we have that to get to as well. Later in the show, Ross Tucker is going to join us too. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life, so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind.
We've all been through some really unpredictable times over the last few years. Boy, do we know that. And it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It never is. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/MNP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/MNP.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Today's question comes from me in New York City. You can submit a question by tweeting it at CBS Sports Radio or at Maggie and Pearl using the hashtag Ask the Pros. I'll tell you what the question is in a second. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. All right, Maggie, I have to go to the airport tonight. I'm flying internationally. I'm about to go on vacation to Prague.
Yep.
And they said get there 4 hours in advance. Do I have to listen to this?
4 hours? I mean, you're late already. We still have show to do. By the way, I'll be here for the rest of the week, so no worries about that.
So, yeah, give me the estimated time of arrival. What do I do here?
International flight, 2 hours. That's always the standard.
But they're saying nowadays you need 2 hours for a domestic flight, so I assumed an international flight was even more.
Since when do you need 2 hours for a domestic flight?
Since 9/11. I mean, honestly.
Really?
They do not suggest 1 hour. Now they suggest 2 hours.
You want to know why? That's because they need you to spend no fewer than $500 at the airport on snacks, maybe $1,000. Everything's so expensive at the airport. It's crazy.
You could get caught in a long line for security or at the, if you check a bag. So I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm leaving right now.
Okay, bye.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm glad.
Surprised you didn't call in that question from a cab.
All right, you want to do a couple more flashes in the pan here?
Yeah, let's do our great debate series. Greatest flash in the pan. Let's go to Jake in Portland. This one's interesting. Hi, Jake. How are you?
Hey, good. How you doing, Maggie? How you doing, Perloff? I know this is a little unorthodox. He's had a long career. He's had a storied career, but hear me out. Madison Bumgarner, in their run to the World Series, looked like the most unstoppable pitcher I've ever seen. Batters were terrified of him. It looked like no one was ever going to hit off that guy ever again. He was so dominant, it was ridiculous. And then I feel like you didn't really hear anything about him after that. I know he's still playing, but there was a second where every story was about Baumgartner.
He's like the greatest postseason pitcher of all time.
I know, but you never hear about him anymore.
Because he did enough that you never have to hear anything about him ever again. I mean, 3 World Series, the guy's amazing.
Jake, I'm with you. I do not understand why Madison Bumgarner has not. Why does Clayton Kershaw still dominate and not Madison Bumgarner?
Well, who knows? But Madison Bumgarner's highs were not flash in the pan. They were like historic that we're never going to forget. No.
I just never hear about him ever anymore, other than that first run to the World Series. Like, every story was about him, and now I don't hear. And I know that he's had a storied career, but it looked to me like he was going to be like the greatest pitcher of all time.
I know,
and
but
then we just didn't hear enough.
But he was like the greatest pitcher in 2 out of the 3 World Series that he won. Jake, thank you so much for the call. I don't mean to sound like I'm so incensed by this, but when I got suddenly very emotional about Madison Bumgarner. But when I think about him, I think of, again, one of the great postseason pitchers of all time. That's not flash in the pan. I mean, Blake Bortles is a flash in the pan.
Well, I think our upcoming guests will agree that Madison Bumgarner and any San Francisco Giants are no good, because I think he's a Phillies fan like me, and the Giants, of course, beat us in 2010. Whatever, no big deal. But you guys know him from his football coverage, of course, former NFL player. And now in basically every form of media, wherever you look, Ross Tucker is there, and host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, friend of the show. Ross, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'd be doing so much better if my laptop was working. I'm working off my phone right now. I'm holding this for you guys.
It looks great.
By the way, as I'm doing this, all the Zooms just popped up on my computer.
Oh no!
Like 3 minutes later. This is amazing.
Ross, by the way, I'm listening to the podcast like I always do. I love the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. You're doing predictions, and you're at a bar, which is not uncommon for Ross, by the way.
I was going to say, what's so weird about that?
Anytime you said something nice about the Eagles, I hear, yes, in the background. But I have to admit, I was a little surprised. That's why I wanted to talk to you about your AFC predictions. You did not pick the Chiefs to come out of the AFC. I get it. It's hard to repeat, but still, who do you see beating them?
Yeah, well, so first of all, nobody's repeated as Super Bowl champion in 20 years. It's very, very hard to do, as we all know. So I think it's unlikely. I will say this. I am incredibly impressed that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year with their first year without Tyreek Hill. I mean, you got to be kidding me, right? When they made the Tyreek Hill trade, I think we all thought transition year, this will probably be the year where they don't actually win the AFC or don't get to the AFC Championship game. They won the whole thing. Even without him, they won the whole thing, which is really, really impressive. They could easily do it again this year, Perloff, there's no question. But, they've got an issue right now with Chris Jones. I'm very skeptical of Donovan Smith at left tackle. And we'll see. I mean, it's hard to win it again. It's hard to play that long. And they had some close playoff games. I mean, that's the thing. That everybody's always like, oh, the Chiefs are going to win it again. The Jags game was close. The Bengals game was a play here or there. The Eagles game was a play here or there. And I kind of like the Bengals in Cincinnati. I think that them getting Orlando Brown and the Chiefs losing him, I think that could be a differentiator. Don't like that Burrow hurt his calf. But I kind of feel like it's time for Cincinnati to get back and maybe win the whole thing.
Ross, Jamar Chase said he doesn't want Joe Burrow to even come back for week 1 and then kind of stretched it like, hey, we don't even really need him back until about week 5, something like that, just so he's healthy for the stretch run. I know you have no way of knowing how many games Burrow might miss, but is that something you would also advocate for, to miss regular season games to make sure he's 100% healthy?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want him to re-aggravate that calf, and you absolutely can do that. It's so funny because you look and you're like, oh, it's a calf. That's a bad injury. That's a hard injury. Like, they just linger, and it's real easy to re-aggravate those. So I would expect the Bengals to err on the side of caution. I do think part of that, though, is week 1, if he were to play, I think that he can be smart, manage it. I said this on the Ross Tucker podcast. I think he's the closest thing we've seen to Peyton Manning since Peyton retired. I mean, I'm so impressed with what Burrow does before the snap. I was on the sideline, Maggie, not to bring up a bad memory, but I was on the sideline of that Bills-Bengals game in the snow.
Yeah.
And Burrow knew where to go with the ball before he got it, like every time. I mean, he was throwing the ball in less than 2 seconds, like every time. Meanwhile, Josh Allen did not. So I don't know if that's coaching or the quarterbacks or what. Josh Allen's running around trying to find somebody open. Burrow's throwing the ball almost as soon as he got it. Really, really impressed by Burrow. And so I understand where Chase is coming from. The problem is AFC North is loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, loaded. I had all four. I know you listen, Perloff. I had all four of those teams having a winning record. I think it's very feasible that three of them make the playoffs. Joe Burrow can't afford to miss 5 games. He can't. For Trevor Siemian? That's a big drop off from Burrow to or Jake Browning. I mean, that would not be good. So I disagree with Chase. I think Chase thinks this is like the NBA. And, Burrow, just get him for the stretch run. Bro, there is no stretch run if you go 1-4 your first 5 games.
Ross, why don't the Bengals call Carson Wentz, or why isn't somebody calling Carson Wentz? To me, that seems like kind of a natural fit. He's at least a high-end backup, or am I missing something here?
Well, I think first of all, how do you know they haven't?
Okay.
Right? They easily could have reached out, and perhaps he's waiting to see if someone else suffers a more significant injury, right? I don't know that Wentz, he's made like $150 million, right? Like, I don't know that Wentz is ready right now to sign up for the minimum to be Burrow's backup in Cincinnati. I do think that he'd be better than some of the guys that are getting backup jobs. There's no question. Yeah. And I think he'll get one if he wants one. I don't think it helps him to wear an Eagles helmet with a Commander's jersey, Colt shorts. He just comes across as a weirdo. What are we even doing there? Why are we doing that? What's the point of that? I don't think that's a real good idea for him either. But I do think he'll get signed at some point. My guess is he already could have had a backup quarterback job somewhere if he wanted it. I do think, though, there is some concern about Carson. Is he really all in on being a backup? Is he really bought into what that means? Because I think there's some concern there that he might come in and really have designed on the starting job, which, look, it's not the worst thing in the world, but that might not be what the starter needs or wants.
If you played for 5 teams, correct? Could you put together an outfit that combines all 5 of your teams? Socks, maybe?
Yeah, so I could wear black cleats from the Browns. The Commanders, they were a different team name at the time. They gave me my game pants, so I'm good there. I have a jersey from the Bills and the Cowboys, and then I have a helmet from the Patriots. I'm short an article of clothing. I've got shoes, pants, shirt, helmet. I don't know what else you want me to put on, Perloff.
Gloves?
To get the 5th team in there.
Gloves don't really have team logos, do they?
I have Princeton socks. I could wear Princeton socks. Oh, no, gloves don't have team logos. And I have Princeton socks, but I don't have NFL team socks. Maybe not all 5. But I just have a question. First of all, what is the point of doing that?
It's like wearing your failures. It's like you're a billboard of all your failures.
And then thinking, you know what I should do? I should post this on social media. This will kill it. This will show. I'm like, I would love to, Carson. If you're listening or watching, you got to come on my podcast. I got to go through the thought process, like on everything about it. I'm actually like shocked that he has a helmet and shoulder pads on by himself. I think he's at like some field, some high school field in South Dakota. I've never heard of a player like putting shoulder pads on like that by themselves on a field. I think quarterbacks do it because they have to throw with that, but you won't catch an offensive lineman randomly putting on shoulder pads by himself in South Dakota.
Wait, was it Baker Mayfield? Who was it who wore the shoulder pads and helmet at their pro day, even though they didn't have to? Am I thinking of Johnny Manziel? We've been thinking about somebody wore it at the pro day. Was it Manziel? We've been talking about Manziel today because of the documentary.
Hey, can I give you my flash in the pan? Can I give you my flash in the pan?
Please do.
Okay, because I know that's what the callers. This is a little bit under the radar, but Perloff will feel me on this one. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, might have been the year the Eagles were really bad, maybe 2020. They had this wide receiver that they promoted from the practice squad named Travis Fulgham. Okay, Maggie, in a month, like 4 or 5 games, he had to have averaged like 8 catches, 150 yards, and like 1.5 touchdowns per game, to the point where my buddy, his son wanted a Fulgham jersey for Halloween. And that's what he wore, a Fulgham jersey for Halloween. The guy was never heard from again. Never heard from again.
Yeah, where is he?
I think I have 2 better Eagles ones for you guys, even though you're the resident Eagles people on here. Ross, you're all things Pennsylvania. But I would say Boston Scott, but only against the Giants, where all of a sudden he turns into the second coming of Barry Sanders, but no other team. And then Corey Clement.
Yeah.
I mean, he was your flash in the pan, right?
Yeah, I mean, running backs are tough. I don't know. Those guys both had moments. Boston Scott's still on the team, so it's a little early for me to say that with him. But for Fulgham to go from he was what's that movie? Can't Buy Me Love? Where Patrick Dempsey goes from a nerd to a stud to a nobody. Okay. Yeah. Fulgham went from a nobody to a 1-month stud to a has-been, but maybe he gets the girl at the end like Patrick Dempsey did. Who knows?
It's like Stephon Urkel.
I kind of get Fulgham and Quez Watkins a little confused sometimes in my head, though. Like receivers that I never heard of who all of a sudden caught long touchdowns. But I see it.
No, Quez Watkins had a really good year 2 years ago, and he'll probably be the Eagles' number 3 receiver this year. And Fulgham was on the practice squad. Then they're playing the Steelers, and he has like all these crazy catches. It was unbelievable.
Everyone has their moment. Ross, I'm sorry we're flat out of time. We want to say, though, check out myfrontpagestory.com. We know that this is one of your passion projects here. Such a great gift for anyone in your family. We know you're passionate about this. We just totally ran out of time today.
That's all right. Thank you, Maggie. MyFrontPageStory.com. All of your wildest dreams will come true. It's not a flash in the pan. It's here to stay, baby. It's here to stay. MyFrontPageStory.com.
Ross, did you do your NFC picks today on the podcast?
I did, yeah. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, usually I only listen when Cosell's on there to learn something. No, I'm kidding. I listen to it all the time. You know that.
Ross?
Yes, I made my NFC predictions. You got to check it out.
Thank you, Ross.
Awesome.
Appreciate that. Got to leave it on a cliffhanger, but thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon. We see you guys on the phones with more of your flashes in the pan. Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. Travis Fulgham's a great one. He was, I remember, we're like, well, we got Travis Fulgham now. We don't need to draft a wide receiver. And
Good thing you traded for A.J. Brown.
Yeah, Ross was right. He went straight back to the practice squad. But now I'm getting excited because, Ross does the preseason games for the Eagles. You could sense the positivity. Remember the Eagles? They were in the Super Bowl last year.
I do, and it is almost easier to repeat as Super Bowl champ than it is to make the Super Bowl again after going there and losing.
I'll tell you who's not a flash in the pan: Jalen Hurts.
Well, we know that. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Again, see you guys on the phones. We'll get to your flashes in the pan. Don't move. So much more after this CBS Sports Update. Here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
Henry Ruggs was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison for his role in a fatal drunk driving accident back in 2021 in Las Vegas. The former Raiders receiver had been driving as fast as 156 miles an hour before the crash and had a blood alcohol level twice the legal limit. A 23-year-old woman and her dog were killed after Ruggs slammed into the back of her car. Baseball today. The Marlins topped the Reds by a score of 5-4, getting a pair of homers from Josh Bell, who now has 3 since coming over in the trade. It was Brian Dela Cruz's 16th, though, that lifted Miami. In 10, the Brewers outlast the Rockies by a score of 7-6. And right now, top of the 8th, the Rangers' 8-game winning streak is in jeopardy. They have just 2 hits against 3 Oakland pitchers, and the A's lead the Rangers by a score of 2-0. Jack Flaherty looking to build on a victorious debut for the Orioles. He gets the call tonight against the Astros' Christian Javier in Game 3 of a 4-game series. And Max Fried, after a terrific outing coming off the injured list his last time out Friday afternoon, will take the mound tonight for the Braves when they continue their series against the Pirates. I'm Rich Eckert.
CBS Sports is everywhere, at home, in your car, and of course on your phone and tablet. Find us on your local affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We get back to your phone calls in a moment. Great debate series today. The greatest flash in the pan of all time. Greatest sports flash in the pan. See you guys on the phones. Get to it. Let's do our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. Today's snapshot of the show came from Andrew Perloff, humble bragging that he once got mono when he was in college.
Do you guys know that I got mono in college? And I say that because I said it once on the Dan Patrick Show. Got floods of hate mail. Oh, Perloff was kissing girls in college. Isn't he cool? I didn't mean it as a humble brag.
Is getting mono a humble brag?
That's how people perceived it. Like, ooh, Perloff thinks he hooked up with a lot of girls because he got mono in college, which is not how I got mono. You can get mono all sorts of ways, by the way. And I might have been kissing a girl. I mean, I was 20 years old. I hope I
hope so.
Trust me, I did not get in high school. I can guarantee you that. That I can factually tell you. I also got chlamydia. I'm joking.
That woke up our intern.
I'm joking. I'm trying to see if this thing was working.
I'm still dying about that the second time around, and I knew it was coming.
I feel like there was a fancy edit in there. Is that really how that went down?
It really is how that went down.
That was all AI.
It was. That was just like truth or dare there for a minute. Yeah. Care to share any other venereal diseases?
No, I never got that venereal disease. And I mean, yes. Did I take preventive penicillin in college? Yes.
855-212-4CBS. All right, flashes in the pan. Let's go to Chris, who's in Syracuse. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Just a qualifier. I'm on loan from the Dan Patrick Show. And
wait, is this the Chris in Syracuse?
Yeah, I'm sure Dan won't mind for you, Andrew, and for Maggie. So,
Chris, I'm honored. I remember you calling the Dan Patrick Show for all those years. You were a great caller. You are a great caller.
Yeah, thank you. It's still loyal Dan Seipel, but you guys do a great job. And I got a couple I wanted to throw at you. I got two okay ones, and one I think is pretty good. Tony Madras and Marcus Dupree, and the big one. Dallas Cowboy, quarterback, Thanksgiving Day, standalone game, Clint Longley in the 70s, and talk about a flash in the pan, man. Quick flash, and never saw him again.
Unbelievable story.
Yeah, about Roger Staubach, right? And then, didn't they get into a fight?
Was that Clint Longley?
No, was it someone else?
Could be. Yeah, I think you're right.
I was talking about this with Ackerman. Chris, it's really I'm honored that you called into the show. I really am.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. By the way, Chris, can I ask you an awkward question?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a really good friend of the show named Sully who claims he knew you way back in the day. Do you remember a guy named Sully?
No, it's a great Irish nickname, too, Sully. No, I don't. Was he a local guy where I'm from, Mac? Or
yeah, you know what? No, but he's like our Chris in Syracuse. Well, he's our most regular car, oldest friend, one of my best friends. And he says, I knew Chris in Syracuse back when I was in college. But I have no idea. You don't remember him. I mean,
wow, no, I don't. And I took a cup of coffee in college, but that was about it. So I don't know. college, I don't think I knew a Sully.
All right. Well, you know what?
I'm sure he's not lying though. So who knows? But not that I remember, Mac. No.
Well, it's funny because you were very famous in our world, and I think a lot of people claim to know you, or they feel like they know you. We're so glad you called. You doing good?
Yeah, doing very well.
Yeah.
And you know, my hours have changed a little bit, so I can't call into the DP show. But once every couple months, I get in there and chat with the boys. So
that's awesome.
Which is cool. And and you guys really, you both do a great job.
All right, what do we have
Appreciate
to do,
it, bud.
Chris, to steal you permanently
No,
from
we're never
DP
stealing.
show?
No, it can't be done.
I'm a loyal Dan
Can't be
Cycle.
done.
I got to stick with that.
All right, we're fine to share you, Chris. There's enough of you to go around. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And by the way, we're both also huge Dan Patrick Show fans.
I was just messing around
Yeah.
because everyone's got a price.
You're like, I see the competitive streak, but I mean, he is the OG, the godfather of Dan Patrick Show callers.
Between Chris and Syracuse and Shay
and Irving.
Yep, good DP show callers. We've got our own good callers as well. I'm glad that Chris called in. That's fantastic. Although, what are we going to do about Sully now?
Sully claims that he's known Chris in Syracuse for 20 years. And now we got a show controversy. If you're new to the show, you know who Sully is. Sully is the man, and
He's our body man.
He's our body man, and he claims he knows Chris in Syracuse. So maybe I shouldn't have done that on air.
No, I think you should have. We got to clip that, Samter and EJ. Thomas is in Wyoming. Got another flash in the pan for us. Hey, Thomas, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
My flash in the pan is Derrick Rose.
Ooh, interesting.
An MVP flash in the pan.
Of being an MVP, maybe the face of the league, and then that injury it was all she wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, he hangs around, is an effective bench player.
Yeah, I mean, wherever
he's made a
Thibodeau goes,
career.
Derrick Rose will have a job.
Yeah. And maybe he's a guy that sticks around to be a nemesis to maybe those Cleveland teams or those Heat teams if that knee injury doesn't ever occur. But his apex to what he ended up being, I feel that's a big flash in the pan.
Man, Thomas, you gave us something to think about. So we got Derrick Rose as a potential flash in the pan, and earlier a caller said Bill Walton as a flash in the pan on the NBA side. But if you're an MVP, can you be a flash in the pan? That's not my definition, but I see where guys are coming from. Tony is in Myrtle Beach. Tony, what do you have, pal?
All right, guys, so I got a good one for you. It's going to be a curveball.
Okay.
But I also have the stats for it. John Starks from the Knicks back in the day. So 93 to 97, he was an all-NBA team, all-second team, and all-defensive team. I want to get your catch on that. What do you guys think about that?
John Starks as a flash.
John Starks with the Knicks.
Yeah, I know.
He was amazing for 4 years. I think he actually took advantage of the years that Jordan was at his apex. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Because, I mean, afterwards, from 2000 to 2003, he averaged 4.4 points a game.
Yeah, I know. It fell off there for John Starks.
I want to get y'all's thoughts on that.
You know
Thank you
what's
guys
funny?
So much.
Tony, thank you, because I had Jeremy Lin as my flash in the pan. So I went with a different direction with a former Knicks player because Lin just shined so bright for about a month.
Yep.
And then still stayed in the league for a while, but became this like cultural icon too, and cover a Time magazine. I mean, really crossed over in a major way as a Taiwanese American playing in the NBA and having all this amazing success.
I mean,
Starks is a flash.
To me, Starks has a couple things. All the misses in the finals game, which is, I don't think of it as a flash in the pan. I think of history. And also, what was the dunk? The John Starks dunk? I can't remember.
1993, Game 2.
Yeah.
Drives right.
Over the Bulls, right?
Yeah, dunks over Horace Grant. And Knicks fans will say Michael Jordan, even though he was barely in the picture.
But but he's in the picture.
Yes, he is in the picture.
Yeah, that's his signature moment. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah,
definitely. Those two moments. But, I mean, flash in the pan, that's absurd to me. I mean, John Starks was a good player.
He was like a mainstay on those
he was
teams.
like a starter.
You know, it's fun. Yeah, it's funny. And I know that John Starks, kind of fell off a cliff in terms of his production.
Yeah.
But you could kind of argue that he really overachieved. I mean, this is a guy who was like bagging groceries. I mean, he was not expected to be doing a lot.
He only made the Knicks because he got injured.
Yeah.
He got hurt in training camp trying to dunk over Patrick Ewing because he thought that might be the only way he could make the team. And because he got injured at that time, the NBA, you can't cut players to get hurt. It's the only reason why he had a career with the Knicks.
Listen, I do understand what the caller is saying. Like, he had that peak, and then he went down kind of precipitously at a certain point. I think that's what people are bringing. They're not as short term as our flash in the pan.
Yeah, I think of the flash in the pan as like a high peak and then down. You know, it's like up, down. Like we were saying, even Eddie Lacy didn't qualify because he had 2 good seasons in the NFL.
Yeah,
If he had just had one, like a Peyton Hillis, maybe he'd be more of a flash in the pan.
Absolutely. I think this is a big topic. I'm sure we could go on for hours. If you really look at it, there's so many rookies of the year in every sport who just don't make it.
Michael Carter-Williams?
Oh, that's mean, Maggie.
I'm just saying.
That was early in the process for the Sixers.
This has been great. To the Weedos, the Purple Drinkers, you guys have just been awesome with these. So many great ones that came in today. The Michelle Wees, I would have never thought of that. Brock Osweiler, would have not thought about Colin Kaepernick.
Don't forget Freddie Adu. We're talking about
Freddie
outside sports.
Adu.
Like a 13-year-old MLS player or whatever he was.
I know.
That's a great
He
one.
hung around for a while, though, right?
But, I mean, he was red hot early on.
I know.
I'm trying to find a Buffalo Bill flash in the pan. I'm looking at the single-season rushing leaders. Came up with OJ, so that
Don't
just to get back. Yeah, no, I don't have a. Is there Travis Henry? Flash in the pan, Buffalo Bills. That's the best I could do.
My heart. Thank you to Mike Samter. Thank you to EJ Stewart. Thank you to Ross Tucker. Weedos, Purple Drinkers, the callers. You guys are just phenomenal. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great one.